Chapter 1137, Snow. This abandoned planet was indeed deserted. There were a lot of mortal cities on it. Due to the fact that not many cultivators came here, it was quite peaceful. At this moment it was winter on this abandoned planet, and snowflakes fell from the sky. In some villages, the snow attracted the playful children. Today was a major festival for this planet. The origin of this festival had long since disappeared in the river of time, and was forgotten by a majority of the people. However, this custom was unknowingly passed down until it became a habit. Every household lit up lights. It seemed like one could hear joyous laughter from all directions. It was originally night, but due to the lights from every household reflecting off the snowflakes, it was still very bright, though it wasn't as bright as day. There was a young man silently walking forward in the snow, leaving behind a trail of footprints. However, the footprints weren't very deep and were soon covered up by the snow, all traces swept away. This youth was wearing all white, and even his hair was white. When the snowflakes fell on his hair, it was almost impossible to distinguish between his hair and the snow. The cold wind of the night gently blew the snow on the ground into the air, mixing it with the falling snow. The snow eventually fell once more, and there was no distinction between the new and old snow. This youth quietly walked through the snow. The snow was very deep, and the youth produced slight crunching sounds as he walked. However, the wind was very loud, and this crunching sound was covered by the wind. The youth's white clothes were very thin, and his pants and shoes were also very thin, but he didn't seem to fear the cold. He silently faced the wind and snow. His heart was filled with melancholy and the bitterness of having to leave as he slowly walked forward in the snow. The sharp northern wind contained cold and snow as if it wanted to stop the youth from leaving home on this holiday. However, it all fell apart after landing on the youth. It was powerless. In the dark, snowy night, there was no one else around him. Only the wind and snow accompanied him. After an unknown amount of time, the youth stopped. It was impossible to see the landscape of where he was at, as the entire ground was covered in snow. This was a plain. Here it is. Wang Lin raised his head and calmly looked at the sky. The snowflakes fell before him and blanketed the ground. He shook his head to shake the snow off his head. Wang Lin let out a deep breath and turned to white mist that gradually disappeared. He gently took a step, and then the surroundings shook. At this moment, a silent storm picked up all the snow within the area and blew it into the sky. The snow was blown far away by the wind. After the snow was gone, a giant formation appeared in this 10,000 feet area. This formation was very complex and had pieces of stone positioned within it. After silently pondering a bit, Wang Lin let out a sigh and walked into the center of the formation. Then his right hand reached at the void, and a crack to this storage space opened. With a thought, the stones he had gathered on the way here all flew out one by one. They hovered in the air, and there were no less than 100. As Wang Lin waved his right hand, these stones all scattered and landed in different positions. In an instant, the formation lit up and slowly showed signs of activating. As the formation activated, the snow that was falling didn't get close. It was all pushed away by the formation. Wang Lin sat on the ground and silently pondered. His right hand reached out and grabbed an origin soul from his storage space. This origin soul's eyes were closed. It was unconscious. Holding the origin soul, Wang Lin's left hand formed a seal and pointed at the origin soul multiple times. The origin soul trembled with every point and then was finally thrown into the air by Wang Lin. The origin soul began to stretch and twist until it formed a vortex. This vortex whistled and miserable screams came from inside it. At this moment, the formation on the ground activated and a roar replaced the wind. The formation lit up, but the light didn't fly into the sky. Instead, it went into the vortex. As popping sounds echoed, the vortex seemed to be constantly open. As Wang Lin sat there, his hands formed a seal and he calmly said, "Use the soul as the guide." Bloodlight immediately came from the vortex. As Wang Lin's words echoed, the light entered the vortex. It seemed like all the power from the formation was sucked out and it turned into dust. Even the stones became ashes. The vortex in the sky stopped rotating and began flashing. It was completely dark inside, as if it was a passage. Wang Lin stood up and stepped into the vortex. He looked back at the ground. Although this was an unfamiliar planet, it was still the Alliance star system. This place contained the aura of his home, his family, his friends, and his story. I don't know when I can return. Perhaps I'll never be able to return. Fortunately, I have the snow and wind to send me off. That's enough. Wang Lin revealed a bitter gaze as he let out a laugh. He walked into the depths of the vortex, and the vortex gradually disappeared without a trace. The vortex disappeared from the plains of this abandoned planet, but the laughter continued to echo. The laughter was slowly drowned out by the snow. The empty 10,000 feet area on the plain was slowly filled in by snow. Just like Wang Lin's footprints, it all disappeared. The four great celestial realms each had a star system under them. The Rain Celestial Realm had the Alliance, and they only had one rank 9 cultivation country. The Thunder Celestial Realm had Al Heaven, which had families with inheritances from ancient times. The two different types of environments caused the cultivation methods and directions of each system's cultivators to be very different. Even though they were all cultivators, the difference was huge. Compared to the Alliance's strict rules, Al Heaven had more freedom. However, all that freedom could be given up for the honor of the family. Honor was above everything. The Cloud Sea under the Wind Celestial Realm was very different from these systems. The Cloud Sea star system was bigger than All Heaven. It could be said that among the 4-star systems, the Cloud Sea star system was the biggest. At a glance, the space wasn't dark, but covered by a thin layer of fog. This fog existed almost everywhere in the Cloud Sea, and divine sense would be hindered by it to a certain degree. Due to the fog that had existed for almost an eternity, the Cloud Sea star system didn't look like a star system, but more like a cloud sea. This was the origin of its name. Due to the unique fog, even powerful cultivators could get lost without a star map. They would be forever trapped inside this fog if they didn't have one. Even spatial bending was severely affected. Though it had its uses, they were not many. No one knew the origin of this fog. This fog that filled the Cloud Sea seemed to have existed since before the ancient celestial realm disappeared. Unlike how All Heaven and the Alliance, which were divided into east, south, west, and north, the Cloud Sea wasn't divided like that. The Cloud Sea made it difficult for cultivators to know the exact direction. The fog also didn't allow the Cloud Sea star system to be divided like that, and instead it was based on the concentration of fog. From inside to out, there were a total of 9 ranks. These 9 ranks were actually 9 irregular-shaped rings. The outermost was rank 1, and the innermost was rank 9. The continent of Moluo existed in the 5th rank of the fog. From afar, the continent would fade in and out of existence. At the center of the continent, there was a towering black tower that exuded a soft light that enveloped the continent. This made it so the fog couldn't get into the continent and always pushed it away. This made the area around the continent clear. It wasn't that the Cloud Sea star system didn't have real cultivation planets. They were just very rare. Most were concentrated in rank or higher areas, and there were less than 100 total. Below rank 7 areas, it was mostly filled with these floating continents. Each continent represented a different sect. Rain was falling down on the northern part of the continent of Moluo. This rain covered the world as poured down, and it had rained for unknown amount of time. The ground was already covered in mud, and all the leaves were bent over as if they were suppressed by the rain. The rain rolled along the line in the center of the leaves and fell on the ground. Small beasts hid in the corners and trembled in the rain. On the ground, there were a few small colored snakes playfully moving in the mud and water. For them, such a rainy night was a perfect time for them to forage. This was a jungle. There was no sound aside from the sound of the rain falling on the leaves. It was relatively quiet. There would occasionally be flashes of lightning in the sky that would light up the earth covered in darkness. Deep within the jungle, there was formation about 1,000 feet wide. As the rain fell and washed away the soil, it made this formation even more clear. There were no cultivators around here. The last group of cultivators guarding this formation had left 3 months ago. However, they hadn't destroyed the formation, as if they still had a glimmer of hope. The lightning flashed in the night. When it lit up the world once more, cracking sounds came from the formation. However, the roaring thunder completely suppressed the sound. A blue light appeared from the formation, and gradually covered it. The rain in the sky seemed to fall even faster, as if it knew that a cultivator that didn't belong to the Cloud Sea, one who would shock the 4 celestial realms, was going to appear. The rain fell even harder. The amount of flashing lightning increased. Big brothers and little sisters, do you still have likes for the video? wishing for the like button for the video to help. Chapter 1138, Rain. There was a mountain range far east of the jungle on the continent of Moluo. This mountain range was very strange. It didn't T-wind like a dragon but formed a circle. There was a giant basin in this circular mountain range. The basin was filled with pavilions, and their lights illuminated the night. However, there was a sense of sadness in the basin. Not even the rain could suppress the sadness, and not even the lightning in the sky could cause the sadness to dissipate in the slightest. There were 8 large 100 feet thick pillars scattered around the mountain outside the basin. The 8 pillars were all equal distances apart from each other without the slightest difference. They seemed to grow from the mountain and pierce into the sky. About 100,000 feet in the air, the 8 pillars collected with a large Taoist temple. From a distance it looked like the Taoist temple was supported by the 8 pillars and floated in the air. Aside from looking majestic, this Taoist temple was very ordinary. It was quaint, but also gave off a powerful pressure that shrouded the earth. At this moment, as the rain quickly fell, a bell echoed across the mountain range. The sound of the bell was majestic as it broke the rain and replaced the thunder. However, it seemed to cause the sadness below to become even stronger, and there were even faint sounds of crying. Countless cultivators walked out from the pavilions inside the basin. There were men, women, and children among them, and they all wore Taoist robes. They let the rain fell on their bodies and wet their hair. They didn't use any spells and looked sorrowfully at the Taoist temple as the rain fell on their faces. The rain mixed with the tears that fell down their cheeks. An old man in a Taoist robe sat in the Taoist temple above the basin. He looked very kind, but his face was pale. He quietly sat there, and his expression was calm. There were 4 people kneeling before him. Among the 4 there were 3 men and 1 woman. Aside from 1 man and the woman being middle-aged, the other 2 were both old men. They knelt there with sad expressions, but there was no lack of respect on their faces. The woman, who was very beautiful, bit her lower lip and tears fell from the corner of her eyes, wetting the floor. The old man's eyes were filled with kindness. There was also reluctance in his eyes as he slowly said, "Teacher's lifespan is about to end. You all shouldn't feel too much sorrow. All cultivators will have a day like this after teacher leaves. The origin sect will rely on the 4 of you." "Teacher!" Even more tears flowed out from the woman's eyes. She looked at the old man and memories flashed through her mind. The remaining 3 looked even more sad. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to break through to the Nirvana Shatterer stage. Otherwise, during the trip to the rank 8 spirit origin sect, I wouldn't have had all my vitality sucked away by someone from the main sect and ended up like this. The old man shook his head. There was unwillingness in his eyes, but even more helplessness. The middle-aged man clenched his fist and said, "Teacher, that purple Tao sect placed a formation on our continent of Moluo and secretly went to the Alliance star system. When they failed to come back, why did the main sect place their anger on us?" The old man pondered. His face became even more pale and a death aura emitted from his body. He slowly said, "The main sect must have a reason for this. Don't try to understand their reasoning if you unsatisfied. Then bring my origin sect out of last place in the competition held by the main sect in 100 years. Then your teacher can laugh merrily in the afterlife." The 4 silently pondered. There was a hint of bitterness in their sadness. The sect competition that occurred every 1,000 years was a big event in the Cloud Sea. All the sects in the Cloud Sea would participate, but in this competition, they always returned last and had never been able to soar. The death aura on the old man became even stronger. He took a deep breath and looked at the rain outside the temple as he raised his dried-up right hand. A few months ago, his hand wasn't like this, but at this moment, it was as if all the blood and flesh had been drained. It was like a skeleton's hand. Seeing the old man's hand, even more tears came out from the woman's eyes. The remaining 3 clenched their fists. They were about to break their own jaws from clenching their teeth too hard. The old man didn't look at his right hand and waved at the void. A spatial crack to a storage space appeared. This crack was purple, and the moment it appeared, a terrifying aura came out. Shortly after, a dark purple giant python slowly poked out its head. This python's head was dozens of feet large. The moment it appeared, a pressure filled the Taoist temple. However, this python looked tired, and the head that came out circled around the old man. There was sorrow and reluctance in its eyes as its tongue touched the old man. After I die, this rank 5 purple-eyed python will be my origin sect beast. All of you treated well. The old man's face was no longer pale and was even red. He looked more energetic. However, this was merely his last wind. His end was nearing. Now let teacher use the last of my vitality to use the great beneficent spirit spell and find a spirit partner child for my origin sect. Come to think of it, I was chosen by my teacher like this. At that time, I was only a village youth. The old man revealed a nostalgic smile as his hands formed a seal and then he closed his eyes. The 4 of them sadly looked the old man before them. They knew that all the sect leaders of the past that hadn't died outside had used the last of their vitality to use the great beneficent spirit spell. It was supposed to find someone on the continent of Mo Luo that would be of great help to the origin sect in the future. This spell was very mysterious, and no one could explain the way it worked clearly. Not even the old man in the Taoist robe understood it clearly. He just knew that this great beneficent spirit spell had been passed down for a long time. This spell wouldn't always succeed. In truth, over the countless years, every time the sect leader of the origin sect was going to die, they would use this spell. Over the countless years, it had only succeeded twice, the rest all failed, indicating that no one fitting existed on the continent of Mo Luo. The old man in the Taoist robe's last trace of vitality and origin energy burned. A blue flame appeared around his body and then he gradually disappeared before his 4 disciples. During this, his divine sense was exceptionally empty, as if he had touched some law. His divine sense enveloped the entire continent, looking for the spirit partner child. He searched again and again, but he found no sign of the spirit partner child. The old man in the Taoist robe let out a sign as he knew the great beneficent spirit spell didn't succeed. At this moment, inside the Taoist temple under the burning blue flame, only his head remained. He was about to disappear completely. However, just at this moment, his divine sense noticed a light coming from the rain in the northern part of the continent of Mo Luo. The reason he paid attention to that jungle was because that was where the gateway to the Alliance star system was located. He clearly saw the transferway light up, and at the same time a white figure slowly walked out. His white hair flowed in the dark night, and even the rain seemed to tremble. What was even more strange was that the rumbling thunder seemed to fear this person and unexpectedly dispersed. The mind of the old man in the Taoist robe trembled violently. His mind had never been so clear, and at the instant he saw the youth in white, he had a terrifying guess. This person was indeed a cultivator from the Cloud Sea. Just at this moment, the youth in white coldly looked at the sky. This gaze caused the thunder to stir and quickly retreat. The old man in the Taoist robe was shocked, and the gaze of the youth in white caused his mind to be shaken. Due to using the great beneficent spirit spell, he seemed to fuse with a special kind of law, allowing him to clearly see countless resentful souls around the youth in white. There were too many resentful souls to count, and it was a shocking sight to behold. They all stared ferociously at the youth in white, but none of them dared to get close. These were all the people that had died by Wang Lin's hands. A sense of extreme danger suddenly filled his mind, and he frantically tried to recover his divine sense. He had to tell his disciples of this news as soon as possible. He had to let his disciples escape and report this news to the main sect. Inside the Taoist temple, the old man that was almost burned out of existence suddenly opened his eyes. This action caused the 4 people before him to look up. North region, he could only say these 2 words, as his life had come to an end. His origin soul collapsed, and his divine sense disappeared into the void. All traces of his existence were wiped from the world. The old man was filled with unwillingness and struggled to scream out 2 more words before he disappeared from the world. White hair. The 4 of them stared straight ahead as their teacher died. The 4 words their teacher left behind shocked them, but they didn't know why their teacher's face was filled with shock. In the origin sect, the bell echoed, and the basin was filled with cries. As the bell echoed, there was sorrow, reluctance, confusion, and panic. All disciples of the origin sect, go to the northern part of the continent of Mo Luo and look for anyone with the qualifications to cultivate, regardless of their age, especially if they have white hair. At the northern part of the continent of Mo Luo, Wang Lin withdrew his gaze from the sky. The rain fell and landed his body. The water melted the snow he had on him from the Alliance and slowly flowed off his clothes. Then Wang Lin slowly moved forward on this foreign land. The snow from the Alliance and the rain from the Cloud Sea. At this moment, there was no way to tell them apart. When I left, the snow sent me off, and when I arrived, the rain welcomed me. It's not bad. Wang took a deep breath of the air in the cloud sea and then walked into the depths of the jungle. Just in time to keep the manuscript. Tonight's update might not be timely. If there's no second watch tonight, Leo will supplement tomorrow. However, Leo will try his best to finish today. Chapter 1139, Sang Niu. As Wang Lin slowly walked through the jungle, there were small snakes moving within the mud. He also saw some fist-sized toads jumping in the mud and water. They seemed to enjoy the rain. Wang Lin felt like everything was very strange after entering the cloud sea. He didn't know where he was, and began to ponder as he walked in the mud. He had come here to avoid Tuosen, but with Tuosen's power, he could easily break the barrier between the two star systems. It seemed when that time comes, there would be no place for him to hide. Rather than constantly escaping, I should establish a foothold in the cloud sea as soon as possible. Once my original body has passed the 3 trials, 7 calamities, I'll think about a path for the future. Wang Lin looked at his waist and below. There was a hint of worry in his eyes. The most important is to blend into the cloud sea with the identity of a cultivator from the cloud sea. Wang Lin looked up at the falling rain. Like the snow from the alliance that merged with the rain, he had to do this as well. While moving forward, his body gradually became smaller, and his hair slowly turned black. His appearance changed slightly, and he looked like an ordinary poor scholar. He walked out from the raining jungle. The rainy season on the continent of Moluo would continue for several months. It wasn't tea until the earth was completely moist. People's bones began to ache, and everyone smelled slightly of rust that the rain would finally stop. Whether it was the cultivators or mortals, everyone on the continent Moluo was used to this. For cultivators, they would either go into closed-door cultivation during the rainy season or leave the continent to hunt for fierce beasts. Except during this rainy season, almost all the members of the only sect on the continent of Moluo came out into the rain and headed to the northern area of the continent. Rays of light filled the sky and seemed to open up a path in the rain. If one looked from the ground, they would see a meteor shower-like scene. As for the mortals, they were mostly beside their fireplaces, enjoying the warmth of their homes. They would sometimes look outside their windows. It was dull but warm. The North Water Village was just like its name. It was located in the northern part of the continent of Moluo and was within 500 kilometers of the jungle. The people of the village mostly survived by farming, but there were teams of hunters in the village that hunted in the nearby valley. The people of the North Water Village would organize a group of experienced people every rainy season to go to the jungle to capture water toads. During these months of rain, these villagers would go 4 or 5 times. Every time they returned, they would be carrying large sacks filled with living water toads. When these villagers returned, their families would all come greet them in raincoats. Even the children would excitedly look at their fathers, brothers, uncles, or even grandfathers when they brought back bags of water toad. They would always be in a joyous mood. However, when the villagers of the North Water Village returned from the jungle this time, aside from bags of water toads, they also brought back a person. This was a very ordinary youth, and he looked very thin. He seemed to be unable to withstand the chill and was wearing a raincoat a villager had gifted him. He silently stood there with a strange expression. There was a hint of melancholy and reminiscence as he silently looked at the village before him. Little brother sang, "This is our North Water Village. You can live here for a period of time until the rainy season passes. Then you can follow along the mountain path to Spring City." A burly man in a raincoat passed a sack of water toads to someone else and smiled at Wang Lin. Wang Lin revealed a smile as he clasped his hands and said his thanks. The burly man waved his hand and smiled. "I have never gone to school and have never learned any manners. Since we've met on the road, we are friends, so there's no need for brother to be polite. This rain is heavy, so quickly go inside the house. Mother of my child, quickly tidy up the back room and let brother Seng live there." The woman wearing a raincoat next to the man looked at Wang Lin and smiled. She didn't ask her husband who this person was and quickly returned home. After tidying up the back room, she also brought over a clean set of bedding. This burly man had a lot of prestige in the village, so a lot of neighbors came during the night. They naturally drank a lot of wine. Wang Lin sat at the side and held a bowl of wine. He looked at the mortals with a smile as he drank, and his heart was calm. After drinking, the burly men all laughed loudly. One of the men who was more than 40 years old took a bowl of wine to Wang Lin and said, "Brother Sang, our family's third brother said that if not for you, he wouldn't have survived that snake bite. This old man won't forget your life-saving grace." After he spoke, he drank the entire bowl of wine. Wang Lin smiled. Then he picked up the jug of wine on the table and took a big gulp before wiping his mouth and saying, "This wine isn't strong enough?" The surrounding burly men all applauded when they saw this. The host that allowed Wang Lin to live in the back room laughed. "Woman, go bring the 3 jugs of North Water Village wine. I want to let Brother Sang know we have some strong wine." The burly man's wife shook her head and went into the house. 2 more juniors followed, and soon 3 jugs of wine were brought out. Time slowly passed like this, and in a flash, 1 month passed. The rainy season wasn't over, but the rain had lessened. There were even days where the sun would appear briefly and the rain would stop. Wang Lin was very popular in the village. Everyone seemed to accept this very quiet neighbor who was very good at drinking. The villagers also accepted him as a doctor. Many elders and villagers with stubborn disease witnessed Wang Lin's medical skills. They also accepted his exquisite wood carvings. Wang Lin was a carpenter on top of being a doctor. If time continued to pass and he could forget the crisis with Tuo Sen, forget the life and death of a cultivator, forget the schemes of life, then this was a life Wang Lin was looking forward to. He liked this peaceful life and enjoyed the village's joyous life. However, Wang Lin knew this kind of life was like the brief sun during this rainy season. It would soon disappear. The cultivators of the origin sect arrived at the north part of the continent of Moluo. They searched and searched again for mortals who were qualified to cultivate. Some were young, and some were middle-aged. As for white-haired elders, they also looked at them, but most were not qualified. Even those that would not be able to achieve any result before their death. On this day, a cultivator arrived on the North Water Village. This cultivator looked no more than 20 years old, but he was at the foundation establishment stage. At his age, with his cultivation level, he could be considered a leader among the younger generation. This cultivator's expression was cold, so he immediately frightened the people of the village. They all came out from their houses and trembled in the rain. The people of the continent of Moluo all knew of cultivators. They also understood that if this cultivator became angry, it would only take a moment for this person to slaughter them all. Zhao Yu frowned as he looked at all the mortals in the village. The rain bounded off 3 inches from him, keeping his clothes clean. The villagers were being soaked by the rain as the piercing cold invaded their bodies. The adults were fine, but the children were trembling due to the cold and hugged their parents. They had already been standing here for almost 15 minutes, but the cultivator still hadn't spoke. Immortal, the rain is cold and the children are weak. They can stand this much more. How about the burly man that had taken Wang Lin and began to speak? His little daughter was already frozen pale. However, before he could finish speaking, Zhao Yu's cold gaze flashed over and forced the burly man to swallow his words. Zhao Yu let out a cold snort and coldly said, "If they can even withstand the rain, how can they become cultivators?" His cold snort contained a trace of his cultivation, and as it echoed in the ears of the villagers' faces became pale. As Wang Lin stood within the crowd, his expression became gloomy. He walked out from the crowd and walked toward Zhao Yu. Zhao Yu was startled and was about to shout, but then his eyes filled with confusion. His gaze moved from Wang Lin and onto the villagers. Then he calmly said, "All of you go back." The villagers were startled. They quickly took their children and rushed back inside. They didn't notice that as they scattered, Wang Lin waved his right hand. An invisible heat wave flowed into all the villagers' bodies and dispelled the cold. In the rainy night, Wang Lin walked ahead and Zhao Yu walked behind. He was no longer confused, but it was as if he had lost his soul. The actions of the origin sect lasted nearly a month, and they gathered 31 mortals from the northern part of the continent of Moluo. Among them 17 were teenagers and the rest were youths. All of them were sent to the origin sect and settled down in the giant basin. The 4 great elders of the origin sect placed great importance on the 31 people, and they were split among the 4 elders. Among the 7 people picked by the only female elder, Lu Yanfei, there was a youth named Sang Niu from the North Water Village. Reading so much. Besides the golden keyboard is active, I ask everyone to support a bit more, not just words of support. I'm afraid I can't even carry the last 3. Chapter 1140, Origin Sect. Origin Sect's southern courtyard. Although pavilions covered the basin, there were also buildings on the southern part of the mountain range. In particular, within a red forest that was red all season, there was a red pavilion. It had a number of dancing cranes carved onto it, and it was very beautiful. Lu Yanfei liked red, and almost everyone in the Origin sect knew this. Not only was her house red, Lu Yanfei even had a unique feeling toward red clothes. At this moment, Lu Yanfei was wearing a red dress with her hair spread out behind her. She quietly sat there, and her face was still pale as there was still sorrow that hadn't dissipated. This made her even more beautiful with a hint of red. However, even her 3 senior brothers wearing tea qualified to appreciate this lovely scene, because their cultivation levels were a step lower than Lu Yanfei's. The peak Nirvana scryer Lu Yanfei was the #1 beauty of the Origin sect, and she was very famous within the rank 5 domain. There were many people who had ideas about her, but due to her teacher's peak Nirvana cleanser cultivation, no one dared to make a move. However, now that her teacher had died, the Origin sect was in its weakest state. Right now, Lu Yanfei was holding a jade. This jade was purple, and she mercilessly squeezed it. Her jade-like hand even turned slightly white. There was humiliation in her eyes, but she could only endure. She even wanted to crush the jade in her hand, but when she thought of the consequences, the humiliation increased. After letting out a deep breath, she just barely fixed her mood and looked at the 3 female disciples before her. Then she quietly said, "Let them come in." Lu Yanfei had only taken 3 disciples, and all 3 were female. The second disciple, Shu Yun, had the highest cultivation level. She was half a step into the illusory yin stage. Although Shu Yun wasn't as beautiful as her teacher, she was extremely delicate and had a gentle personality. It didn't take long for 4 pale-faced, trembling youths to enter. When they entered the room, they didn't even dare to breath. They lowered their heads and didn't know what they were doing. Lu Yanfei's gaze swept past the 4 youths as she softly said, "Eldest disciple, 3rd disciple, each of you take 2. Their talent is very ordinary, and whether they will become the spirit partner child will depend on luck. After 1 month, if they aren't recognized by the purple eye teacher left behind, send them home." 2 of the female disciples respectfully nodded. Then they took the 4 youths and departed. "Teacher, there are 3 more. They are a bit old," Shu Yun softly said on the side. Lu Yanfei looked at the purple jade and mercilessly squeezed it. After silently pondering for a moment, she shook her head. "There is no need to see them. Take them unto you. Teacher still has things to do, so you can leave." Shu Yun hesitated for a bit as she looked at the purple jade in Lu Yanfei's hand. She opened her mouth as if she wanted to say something, but in the end she let out a sigh and respectfully left the room. It wasn't until Shu Yun left that killing intent filled Lu Yanfei's eyes. She was like a jade asura as she squeezed the purple jade. The humiliation in her eyes was completely replaced by killing intent. "Rudy, even if Lu Yanfei I want to become your cultivation partner." There were 3 people outside the red pavilion. Aside from Wang Lin, there were 2 more youths. One of them looked simple with simple clothes. The other had a slightly evil look and wore a blue shirt. He had a bit of grace to him. Shu Yun came out with worry in her heart and looked at the 3 of them. When she saw the youth in blue, she frowned. "The 3 of you, hold still. I'll take the 3 of you back to the sect." Shu Yun waved her jade-like hands, then clouds appeared and took the 3 of them down to the bottom of the mountain range in the southern area. It didn't take long for them to arrive outside an intricate courtyard. There were a lot of plants planted in the courtyard, as well as several houses. When the cloud disappeared, the youth in blue turned pale and his body trembled. Then he began puking on the side. It was obvious that the speed was too fast, and it was his first time flying, so he had lost his courage. As for the simple youth, his face was also pale. His body trembled, but he didn't puke. Wang Lin's expression was calm as his gaze fell on the plants in the courtyard and carefully looked at them one by one. Shu Yun looked at Wang Lin, and her eyes lit up. She was very confused about Wang Lin's calmness. When she saw his gaze fall on the herbs, she couldn't help but ask, "You recognize them?" "Some of them," Wang Lin slowly said as he withdrew his gaze. Then he calmly said, "I am a doctor." Shu Yun carefully looked at Wang Lin and said, "Since you recognize some of them, then you can stay here and take care of the herbs here." After that, she slapped her bag of holding and took out a jade. After concentrating for a bit, she threw it. This jade immediately flew off into the distance. This spell caused the simple youth to become very excited, and even the youth in blue revealed a look of yearning. It didn't take long for 2 rays of light to come from the distance, revealing 2 young cultivators. "Greetings, teacher." The 2 cultivators stood before Shu Yun and were very respectful. Arrange a place for the 2 of them to live and give them the chance for the first 3 layers. After Shu Yun gave her order, she walked into the courtyard. Then she turned around, pointed at Wang Lin and said, "You, come in." This girl's turn and point would be a bit charming if her cold attitude was removed. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he walked into the courtyard. The fragrance of the herbs rushed into his face, and just one breath made him feel refreshed. Although he looked neutral, he was shocked. There were many herbs in this courtyard that were already extinct in the Alliance in All Heaven. "You will live there." Shu Yun pointed at the woodhouse before her. She had already been observing Wang Lin as she felt he was too calm. If he was a cultivator, it would be fine, but no matter how much she checked, this Xianxia didn't have a trace of spiritual energy. This surprised her greatly. However, she didn't think about it too much. After telling him the method to take care of the herbs and giving him the cultivation chance, she ignored Wang Lin. She went into the house in the middle and began to cultivate. She was desperately trying to reach the corporeal yang stage so she could be of some help to her teacher. When she thought of the purple jade in her teacher's hand, Shu Yun felt bitter. She knew that her teacher's looks had caught the attention of many powerful cultivators. Now that the ancestor had died, many people's hearts were moved. When she thought about how her 3 uncle teachers refused to help, Shu Yun bit her lower lip tightly. If I can reach the corporeal yang stage this time, I can only take the soul-parting death pill. Thinking about the terror of the soul-parting death pill, Shu Yun took a deep breath. After pondering for a bit, she closed her eyes to cultivate. She recently had a bit of a breakthrough in her domain, so she wasn't far from the corporeal yang stage. After Shu Yun left, Wang Lin faintly smiled and looked around at the herbs before walking into his own house. He found that his house wasn't big. Aside from a bed, there was a wood table. There was an oil lamp on the table. Stretching his body, he lied on the bed and looked at the wood roof, revealing a relaxed expression as he did so. He hadn't had it this easy in a very long time. Whether it was the North Water Village or his current location, both had given him a rare peace of mind. After cultivating to his level, aside from cultivating, the most important factors were understanding Tao and law. Lying here, Wang Lin felt calm, and he vaguely grasped some ideas. True and false. Perhaps I am between true and false right now. Wang Lin revealed a smile and slowly closed his eyes. It didn't take long for the sky to gradually darken. Now the room was completely dark. Wang Lin slowly opened his eyes, but he didn't light the lamp. Instead, he sat down and his hands formed seals. Then he pointed at multiple parts of his body. After letting out a breath of foul air, his body split into 2. His avatar and an original body split in this wood house in the southern courtyard of the Origin sect. His original body sat there, and everything below the waist was only bones. His bones were dark and there were faint, red lines across the bones. If anyone else saw this, they would definitely gasp. The original body was even worse than when he was at the Vermilion Bird Divine sect. It seemed like his injuries were even worse. In truth, Wang Lin had fused with his original body as early as when he left the Vermilion Bird Divine sect to save the Azure Dragon Divine Emperor in the Rain Celestial Realm. However, due to the original body's problem, even though they were fused, there wasn't much ancient god power left to use. Ancient gods encounter 3 trials, 7 calamities. According to Tusius' memories, only after reaching 6 stars should I encounter the first 2 calamities of the first trial. I didn't think I would face the first trial early. The first trial involves the flesh calamity and the bone calamity. Both are indeed strong. As Wang Lin looked at his original body, he waved his right hand. A crack to his storage space opened and fist-sized blood crystals flew out. All of these blood crystals released a blood light, but, strangely enough, the lights were all contained within the room and none of it leaked out. Wang Lin looked at the blood crystals as he waved his right hand, and the blood crystals flew at his original body. They landed on the skeleton-like lower half, and gradually covered that part of the body. His original body opened its eyes and then sank into the ground, disappearing from the room. He continued to sink until he reached the depths of the continent of Moluo. Then he closed his eyes and began to absorb the aura from the blood crystals. Wang Lin had searched through 2CS memories when his original body S3 Trial 7 calamities arrived early. After looking through the memories, he was enlightened and had a guess. His ancient god body was incomplete compared to the body of a true ancient god. It would be very difficult to pass the first trial without an ancient god's heart blood. However, this was only his speculation. Wang Lin wasn't sure if his original body could pass the flesh calamity of the first trial. As he pondered, time passed and the morning sunlight entered the room. The sound of the pouring rain also entered Wang Lin's ears. Fans celebrating the new year, please join the VIDEEO fan battle team. If you need to complete a mission, Leo can praise everyone in the chapter narration. Chapter 1141, Lu Yanfei. Even the morning air was damp during the rainy season on the continent of Mo Luo. Pushing open the window, countless drops of water would landed on the windowsill. Some even splashed onto Wang Lin's face. This rain was very cold, but cold rain in the morning could help one awaken. Looking through the window, the rain was strong. The herbs in the yard were a lot tougher than normal plants, so the rain did no harm to them. The rain fell on the herbs and nourished the roots. Waves of spiritual energy spread out from the rain. Wang Lin took a deep breath as he picked up an umbrella and walked out from the room. The sound of his feet landing on the mud mixed with the sound of the rain falling on his umbrella. Wang Lin listened to this sound as he felt the origin energy of the world. He was happy as he slowly walked forward. Shu Yun's cultivation session hadn't ended. She was still silently cultivating, trying to break through the illusory yin stage into the corporeal yang stage. She wasn't aware that Wang Lin had left, though even if she wasn't immersed in cultivation, she wouldn't know of Wang Lin's departure. After arriving at the origin sect, Wang Lin didn't hide his cultivation level. Given his current status, he didn't feel the need to hide it. However, without using any spells, no one could see that he was a cultivator, as no one could see through his cultivation. A Nirvana Cleanser cultivator's origin energy was integrated with the world, allowing them to absorb origin energy from the world to use. As long as the origin energy inside his body doesn't move, then no origin energy fluctuations will appear. If this was all, Lu Yanfei might have seen something. However, Wang Lin had a sliver of source origin and had already seen the third step. He had also experienced what it was like to be a third step cultivator with the help of Celestial Emperor Qing Lin. Therefore, there was no one on this continent that could see through his cultivation. He held the umbrella wearing white clothes as he walked out of the yard and began to walk through the origin sect. He did encounter other cultivators, but they were all in a rush and didn't disturb each other. Wang Lin walked up the mountain from the southern courtyard. He didn't use any spell and used his body to walk toward the peak. The mountain breeze was very strong at the top of the mountain. At a glance, the clouds covered the sky and there was lightning flashing within them, releasing muffled sounds of thunder. Wang Lin breathed in the wet air, looked at the scene in the distance, and felt the origin energy of the world. Wang Lin's heart was calm. If not for the uninvited guest, he would enjoy this feeling. He was at a place where no one knew him. He was in a foreign world, savoring the smell of the rain by himself. "Who are you?" A cold voice came from behind him. Wang Lin's expression was neutral as he turned around and saw a woman behind him. This woman wore a red dress that looked like a red cloud. Her black hair was scattered behind her, and the black and red contrasted with her slightly pale face, making her even more beautiful. This woman was very delicate, but on this rainy and thunderous day, she gave off a sense of loneliness and helplessness. Her faint hint of humiliation appeared clearly in Wang Lin's eyes. Wang Lin calmly said, "My name is Seng Na Yu." The woman in red coldly looked at Wang Lin and frowned. The name Seng Na Yu was completely unfamiliar to her. If not for the fact that Wang Lin was only a mortal, she would have already drove him down the mountain. Seng Na Yu? The woman remembered that among the 31 mortals brought back from the north, one of them was named Seng Na Yu. However, this person was simply too calm, and this wasn't something that could be faked. "Leave this place," the woman said coldly. After all, she was a powerful cultivator and would naturally not make a move on a mortal. Although she was irritable, she maintained her calm. Wang Lin suddenly smiled and walked past the woman in red. He followed the road and was about to leave. The woman in red turned around and looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin's calmness surprised her. It has to be said that in the entire origin sect, aside from her teacher, every disciple would be extremely nervous and respectful. Even her 3 senior apprentice brothers would show some respect due to her higher cultivation level. There was not need to talk about mortals, but this man before her was strangely calm. The gaze of the woman in red was like lightning as she stared at Wang Lin's back as if she could see through him. After carefully checking, she finally determined that the person before her was just a mortal. The woman in red let out a sigh and whispered, "Wait. Are you willing to listen to me?" Lu Yanfei had a very high status in the origin sect, and most people were very respectful to her. Also, due to her status, there were some things that weren't convenient to speak about. The youth before her didn't have any cultivation, and was a mere mortal. In Lu Yanfei's eyes, the difference between them was like heaven and earth. More importantly, the youth's calmness was infectious, and unconsciously helped her calm down. She just wanted to find someone who could listen to her. At this time, during this rainy morning on this mountain, it was just the 2 of them. Wang Lin pondered and stopped walking away. He stood at the top of the mountain as he looked at the dark clouds in the distance and nodded. The mountain breeze whistled by with the rain. Aside from the wind and rain, it was calm. When I was 13, I was accepted as a disciple by teacher and stepped onto the path of cultivation. Lu Yanfei's voice was calm and filled with nostalgia. Her voice slowly disappeared into the rain. When I was attempting my breakthrough to the ascendant stage, teacher was willing to expend a large amount of herbs in the sect, and even went to trade for more from other sects to refine me a heaven-deceiving pill that allowed me to reach the ascendant stage. I still remember that year. Teacher took me into the stars hunting. It took 3 years before he helped me catch a 6-eyed red fox to become my life bee spirit. Lu Yanfei slowly and bitterly spoke. She didn't care whether Wang Lin could understand or listen. She just looked at the horizon as if she was muttering to herself. Teacher has died. From now on, I'll never be able to see him again. Lu Yanfei had said a lot. Wang Lin stood on the side and silently listened. Time gradually passed, and soon it was noon. The rain in the sky lessened gradually until it stopped. The dark clouds in the distance disappeared and the sky became clear. A bright rainbow hung over the sky, giving off an indescribable beauty. The purple Dao sect caused teacher's death, and then their junior master sent over a jade asking me to become his cultivation couple. If I don't agree, then they will report to the main sect that they will start a war with our origin sect. Taking advantage of my teacher's death, the main sect never liked us. If the purple Dao sect really requests it, then there is an 80% chance the main sect will agree. Lu Yanfei bit her lower lip, and there was a hint of bitterness in her beautiful expression. What is ridiculous is that my 3 senior apprentice brothers didn't dare to step forward at all, and thought that this matter was set. They want me to sacrifice myself to bring peace to the origin sect. However, do they really think that the origin sect will be safe once I belong to Lu Hai? 2 streams of tears fell from Lu Yanfei's eyes, went down along her cheeks and landed on the ground, mixing with the rain. She silently looked at the rainbow over the horizon and muttered, "There is a rainbow after the wind and rain, but my origin sect's rainbow is bleak." Wang Lin's expression was calm. Seeing that the woman in red was finished speaking, he turned around and walked down the mountain. The woman in red didn't stop him this time, and silently looked at the horizon. After a long time, she revealed a determined expression, and killing intent appeared in her eyes. She looked back at the direction where Wang Lin went. This person's heart is on par with people at my generation. If he steps on the road of cultivation, he will definitely have great achievements in the future, unfortunately. Wang Lin walked down the mountain and entered the courtyard holding the umbrella. Shu Yun was still cultivating when Wang Lin returned to the house, and his eyes lit up. I already knew from Zhao Yu's memories that this cloud sea-star system would be very different from the Alliance and Al Heaven. Now that I listened to the elder of the origin sect, it seems a majority of cultivators cultivate using spirit beasts. Their alchemy is also unique. The cloud sea was filled with fog, and inside the fog was a world that belonged to spirit beasts. Wang Lin began to ponder, especially when he pondered the words of that elder. There was actually pill that could help one reach the ascendant stage. Heaven-deceiving pill. Wang Lin's eyes revealed interest. He couldn't forget that if not for Zhou Ye's ascendant crystal, he would have been burned to death by the origin flame. Those who seek Tao in the morning could be dead by dusk. This Cloud Sea Star system actually has a pill to help cultivators pass the first life and death trial in cultivation. It can be said that the Cloud CS alchemy has reached a peak. There are probably pills that can even help cultivators at the second step. However, cultivators should focus on comprehending Tao, and pills is considered unorthodox method. Yet why did the Cloud Sea Star system develop alchemy to this degree? Wang Lin frowned slightly, but he soon relaxed. Could it be there are pills that can help comprehend domain? Thinking about this, Wang Lin's heart skipped a beat, and he let out a deep breath. Just at this moment his expression changed, and his gaze seemed to penetrate his own house before landing on Shu Yun. At this moment Shu Yun opened her eyes and coughed out blood. Her face was pale. She had failed trying to break through to the corporeal yang stage again. This failure caused her origin soul to become injured. Shu Yun bit her lower lip and revealed a decisive gaze. She slapped her bag of holding and took out a pill. She crushed the pill without hesitation, revealing a black pill. The moment the pill appeared, it released rich origin energy, and there was also a faint soul force inside it. Soul-parting death pill. Shu Yun clenched her teeth and was about to swallow the pill. At this moment, a calm voice appeared. Stop! It's time to double the likes for the VIDEO. Wishing for more likes for the VIDEO. Chapter 1142, Spirit. This voice seemed to come from the world itself and was ethereal. It seemed to come from her ears but also from far away. However, listening to it carefully, it came from her mind. It was a very simple word and very calm voice, but when it landed in Shu Yun's mind, it caused her body to tremble. It was as if the world around her had collapsed and formed a law of unimaginably thin threads that wrapped around her. Shu Yun's body, origin soul, and origin energy all stopped at this moment. Even her mind was frozen, still retaining her previous thoughts. Wang Lin's figure appeared before Shu Yun. Shu Yun, who was sitting there, was very alluring with her beautiful body hidden by her clothes. There was a fragrance coming from her body. Her expression still retained her previous determination. Wang Lin took the black pill from Shu Yun's hand and carefully looked at it. The color of this pill was like the source of darkness in the world. Just one look at it would suck your mind in. What a strange pill, Wang Lin muttered as his divine sense spread across pill, and he began to calculate. Wang Lin's knowledge in alchemy was far weaker than his skill and restrictions, but his cultivation level was as high as the heavens, so his divine sense was able to analyze the structure of the pill. However, a majority of them were not things he understood, and more importantly, he felt soul fluctuations inside the pill. Interesting! Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he looked at the pill once more. He was able to determine what he felt wasn't wrong, and there were indeed soul fluctuations inside. Although the soul wasn't very strong, it was tough. Closing his eyes, Wang Lin had a feeling he wasn't holding a pill, but the soul of a fierce beast. This was the soul of an ape, and it was extremely tyrannical. It frantically struggled in his hand, but there were too many seals on it for it to escape. After he opened his eyes, the illusion disappeared. Wang Lin placed the pill back in Shu Yun's fingers before taking a few steps back and pointing forward. The invisible threads around Shu Yun quickly disappeared and her body trembled before returning to normal. For her it felt as if only an instant had passed. Wang Lin's cultivation level was far above hers, so she couldn't even detect the abnormality caused by the stop spell. She retained her previous action and swallowed the pill with a determined gaze. Wang Lin stood behind her and calmly observed. Shu Yun didn't notice that there was a person behind her. After swallowing the pill, Shu Yun's face turned red and revealed a hint of pain. Fragrant sweat appeared on her forehead and soon her clothes were soaked in sweat and clinged to her body. From the back, Wang Lin could clearly see the beautiful curves of the woman before him. Shu Yun's face became even more red. Her eyes were closed and she could clearly feel a fire burning in her body. This flame burned her origin soul, and a golden black-eyed ape appeared in her origin soul. This golden black-eyed ape was huge and fierce. It let out a roar and charged at her origin soul. Shu Yun's mind was also filled with flames. Her origin soul was already injured from before, and the flames were very painful, but she didn't retreat. She began a battle with the golden black-eyed ape. Her mind was like a battleground, and she began a life and death battle with the ape. The ape roared, seeming to want to tear her origin soul and flesh apart so it could escape and not have to withstand the burning flames. However, Shu Yun's origin soul clinged onto the black ape. While the flames burned her, they were also refining the black ape. She wasn't willing to give up until she refined the black ape. However, the black ape was very powerful, and it was being refined slower than the rate Shu Yun's origin soul was burning. This caused Shu Yun's origin soul to retreat, and her face became even more red as she trembled. When taking the soul-parting death pill, one would walk the line of life and death. Shu Yun knew this very well. If not for the fact that she was anxious to make a breakthrough in order to better help her teacher, she wouldn't have swallowed this pill so easily. Her teacher had helped her greatly, so she was willing to do whatever it took for her teacher. Her origin soul was pushed to the edge by the ape, which only had a small portion of its body refined. It pounced at Shu Yun and was going to tear her origin soul to shreds. Just at this moment, Wang Lin raised his right hand. He wanted to carefully observe the effect of this pill. If Shu Yun died, he wouldn't have a chance to observe. "Forget it, I'll gift this little girl a fortune." Wang Lin shook his head as he pointed to between Shu Yun's eyebrows. Wang Lin's divine sense directly entered Shu Yun's mind. In Shu Yun's mind, her origin soul continued to retreat, and she was filled with despair. The ape closed in, and just as it pounced, a white figure entered. She couldn't clearly see the white figure, she only saw white hair fluttering. She didn't have time to be shocked at how this white-haired man had appeared inside her mind. Her origin soul trembled as she stared ahead in disbelief. She saw that after the white figure appeared, he casually pointed with his finger, and the ape was forced back, screaming. Popping sounds came from the ape before its body collapsed, and was refined like crazy by the surrounding flames. Shu Yun was startled. The grace of that finger shocked her greatly. She couldn't describe that finger. It felt like the finger was the only thing in her mind at that moment. It was so powerful that even the world would collapse before the finger. She had seen her teacher Lu Yanfei use spells, but she clearly understood that not even her teacher could produce something this powerful. She feared that even her teacher would be defeated and die under that finger. She had even seen the ancestor that had already died use spells before, and even for the ancestor, it would have been difficult to produce this kind of power. The white-haired man's casual movement shocked her mind greatly. The white-haired man seemed to look back at Shu Yun and then disappeared from her mind. The only thing that remained was the white hair that was clearly imprinted in her mind. The ape was refined by the flames in her mind and turned into a strange soul force. When the soul force rushed into Shu Yun's origin soul, she could no longer think about the white hair. As she absorbed the soul force, Shu Yun gradually entered a strange state similar to the Shi realm. Under this strange state, comprehension of Tao and the heavens came from the mysterious soul force into her origin soul. This ape was no ordinary beast, but a spirit beast unique to the Cloud Sea. These spirit beasts also cultivated Tao and comprehended the heavens just like humans. With its natural longevity, it had an advantage over cultivators in gaining enlightenment. This ape had already lived for more than 3,000 years. After taking its soul, alchemy techniques were fused to create this soul-parting death pill. After an unknown amount of time, Shu Yun slowly opened her eyes, and her eyes started shining. The aura of a corporeal yang cultivator appeared around her body. Although she hadn't truly reached the corporeal yang stage, the door had been opened. She only needed time to comprehend everything, and then she would be a true corporeal yang cultivator. Shu Yun suddenly looked behind her, but she didn't see anyone here. She was alone in the room, but she couldn't forget that white-haired figure and that graceful finger. After silently pondering for a bit, Shu Yun's expression became bleak. She stared ahead, and the white-haired figure remained in her mind. She had a feeling not as a cultivator, but as a woman that she seemed to have seen this figure before. Was it an illusion? White hair, Shu Yun's eyes gradually lit up. She remembered what her teacher had told her about the ancestor's last words, after using the great beneficent spirit spell. The north white hair Shu Yun's bountiful chest went up and down, and her breathing became rough. She immediately rushed out from her house, and flew toward her teacher. Wang Lin stood by the window and saw the ray of light disappear into the night. There was enlightenment in her heart. I didn't think that such a pill would exist in the Cloud Seal. That means that the more powerful the spirit beast, the more useful it is in helping the soul gain enlightenment. This is very different from Al Heaven and the Alliance. While pondering, Wang Lin suddenly remembered the beast soul Moji's master had refined, and given to him as a gift when he was at the Vermilion Bird Divine sect. At this moment, in the rank region not far away from the continent of Moluo, there was a beast with a body like a black tadpole that was 1,000 feet wide. It was slowly flying through the star fog. This beast's giant head occupied most of its body, more than half. It opened its big mouth as if it was devouring the fog as it flew, revealing its sharp teeth. It was filled with bloodlust as its slender tail waved back and forth. There were 2 people standing on its head. One of them was a young man in a purple robe. He was very handsome, but there was also a hint of evil on his face that made him look very tyrannical. Behind the youth was an old man. He calmly stood there with a respectful expression, but when he looked at the youth, there was a hint of doting in his eyes. Not only do I want Lu Yanfei to become my concubine cultivation furnace, but I am going to make the origin sect my inner palace. Uncle Song, how confident are you? If that old Taoist hadn't died, I would have no confidence, but now I am 100% sure. There was a flash of coldness in the old man's eyes. The young man laughed and licked his lips. He seemed to have thought of something and revealed an evil expression. As usual, 2 chapters at noon, about 10 minutes apart, and 2 more at 8 in the evening, 10 minutes apart. If anything comes up, the other will be informed. Longing for the like button for the video. Chapter 1143, Purple QI from the West. The rainy season lasted for several months, seeming like it would never stop. The intermittent raindrops pressed down upon the minds of the origin sect disciples, and they were powerless to dispel it. In the blink of an eye, Wang Lin had already been at the origin sect for 10 days. Xu Yun had already returned from her teacher, and during this time, she secretly investigated the 31 mortals brought back from the north. She had observed Wang Lin as well, but she didn't notice anything. Even her teacher, Lu Yanfei, took this matter seriously. She even used spells to try to find some clues, but there was still no result. The white-haired figure didn't dissipate with time, but became even more profound. She would awaken from her cultivation at night, and the white-haired figure and that graceful finger would subconsciously appear in her mind. Who is he exactly? This question still plagued Xu Yun. On this afternoon, Xu Yun pushed over the door and a few drops of rain landed on her face. She frowned as she lifted her jade-like hand and wiped the rain off her face. Her appearance was refreshing with a hint of charm as she walked out. The raindrops seemed to land on an invisible cover when they came within half a feet of her and flowed down the sides. Walking through the courtyard, Xu Yun looked at the various herbs before looking at Wang Lin's house. The first one she suspected was Wang Lin. However, during these days, this youth named Sang Niyu was like a real mortal, aside from his composure and calmness. She wasn't able to think of a reason why, but she subconsciously walked toward Wang Lin's house and stood outside for a while. She raised her eyebrows and pushed open the door. I let you stay here to take care of the herbs. During these days, have you done it once? Xu Yun stared at Wang Lin, who was reading a wooden scroll next to the small table. For some reason, whenever she saw Wang Lin, she found it hard to control her emotions and didn't have the calmness an illusory yin cultivator should have. Wang Lin placed down the wooden scroll he had gotten from the origin sect. There wasn't any valuable information inside, and it was something all new disciples could borrow. It contained the history of the continent of Moluo and a simple introduction of the Cloud Sea. These wooden scrolls were to allow the new disciples to get a better understanding of the Cloud Sea. This allowed them to see that there was always someone above them, so they would put more effort into cultivation. While reading the wooden scroll, Wang Lin wasn't completely focused. He was also thinking about alchemy and spirit beasts. He calmly looked at Xu Yun. Wang Lin just sat there and calmly asked, "Did a single herb die?" Xu Yun was startled. The herbs were much more lush than before. Even some of the roots she had given up on had all strangely survived. Wang Lin no longer spoke. He picked up the scroll and continued reading. The more calm he was, the more Xu Yun frowned. The moment she walked in, a fragrance diffused within the small room. Wang Lin was familiar with this smell. When Xu Yun was cultivating before, Wang Lin had already smelled this body fragrance. Xu Yun stared at Wang Lin and coldly said, "The herbs not dying has nothing to do with you. It is because there is plenty of spiritual energy here, and their herbs are mostly water element, so they can absorb origin energy from the rain." Oh, Wang Lin casually nodded and didn't even look at Xu Yun. He continued to read the wooden scroll in his hand. Saying Niu. Seeing Wang Lin's attitude, Xu Yun glared with her beautiful eyes. Wang Lin frowned as he put down the wooden scroll again and coldly looked at Xu Yun. Xu Yun was filled with words and was about to scold him, but when she suddenly met Wang Lin's eyes, she subconsciously swallowed her words. She was startled. My job is to keep the herbs from dying. If nothing has happened, please don't bother me, Wang Lin said calmly. Then he looked away from Xu Yun and picked up the scroll. Xu Yun's heart trembled for no reason under Wang Lin's gaze. Is it him? Xu Yun pondered for a moment and took a profound look at Wang Lin. She then bit her lower lip and left the room. Late in the night, the oil lamp on the table was lit. It was dark outside, with only the sound of the rain mixed with the sound of the thunder that followed the rain. The wind from the mountain blew into the basin, forming vortexes that howled in the night. Wang Lin put down the scroll before closing his eyes and pondering for a moment. He was able to see through many things from the scroll and had gained a vague understanding of the Cloud Sea. More importantly, during the last 4 days, he was able to gain enlightenment regarding alchemy from a jade he had acquired. He opened his eyes and raised his head. His gaze seemed to be able to penetrate the house, break through the rain, and look at the sky directly above the basin. There was a Taoist temple being propped up by 8 huge pillars there. Wang Lin could clearly sense a powerful aura within that Taoist temple. His body flickered and he disappeared from the room. When he reappeared, he was on top of one of the pillars and right outside the Taoist temple. The wind and rain were extremely strong here, and there were also flashes of thunder and lightning. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he pushed open the door of the Taoist temple and walked inside. This Taoist temple wasn't too big. Aside from the decorations, the most conspicuous thing was the giant spatial crack at the center with purple light leaking out, coloring the entire temple purple. Behind the crack was a shelf. There were fluctuations of restrictions coming from the shelf, and there were 3 things placed on it. There was a longsword, a piece of jade, and a pill. The moment Wang Lin entered the Taoist temple, the purple light from the spatial crack became stronger. A huge python head came out from the crack and stared at Wang Lin. This python was blackish purple, and its eyes were also a rich purple. Usually, anyone who was being stared by this pair of eyes would be shaken, but it had no effect on Wang Lin. Wang Lin didn't even look at the python and walked past it. The python let out a low roar, but fear appeared in its eyes. It began to retreat, allowing Wang Lin to walk past it, and didn't dare to attack. In truth, Wang Lin had come here 4 days ago. In terms of cultivation, this purple python could battle late-stage Nirvana Scryer cultivators, but Wang Lin could easily kill it. He didn't even cause much of a fuss, and almost killed the purple python. However, he was going to stay here for a period of time and couldn't seem to justify killing their sect's guardian beast the moment he arrived, so he left the purple python alive. Wang Lin arrived next to the shelf, and with a wave of his sleeve all the restrictions dissipated. Wang Lin picked up the jade and began observing it. He had already seen it 4 days ago, but he wasn't interested in their spells or cultivation methods. However, he did pay attention to the information about spirit beasts and alchemy. After taking another look, Wang Lin pondered. He then put down the jade and picked up the pill. This pill looked very inconspicuous. When he looked at it 4 days ago, he wasn't able to find anything interesting. After pondering about the information on alchemy he saw in the jade 4 days ago, he came this time to check the pill. According to the jade, there was a total of 13 ranks of spirit beasts. The souls of these beasts could be refined into pills that were also divided into 13 ranks. This was a pill that was passed down for generations within the origin sect. It was a rank 8 pill, but unfortunately, it was a rank 8 pill without a rank 8 beast soul, so it was a waste. There was a hint of pity in Wang Lin's eyes. After studying the jade for these days, he gradually grasped some key concepts of the Cloud CS alchemy. He had come here to the temple today to check if his speculation was correct. Seeing the pill in his hand, he was certain. After letting out a sigh, Wang Lin put down the pill. He didn't take any of these 3 things that were obviously inheritances left by the old ancestor. Unless he had a feud with them, given Wang Lin's cultivation level, he wasn't going to do something that would ruin a sect. It was enough for him to just look at it. Now I need to personally refine a pill using this method. My goal in the Cloud Sea is to do everything I can to improve my cultivation. Wang Lin eyes lit up. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly raised his head, and his eyes revealed a strange light. There were flashes of lightning in the sky above the western part of the continent. There were muffled rumbles as if someone was bombarding it from the outside. This continent was floating in the cloud sea. There was a black tower on the continent that released a soft white light that covered the entire continent. Aside from pushing the fog back, it also had a defensive role. It protected the continent against cultivators of other sects, but more importantly, it protected the continent against the myriad of fierce beasts. In the cloud sea, beasts were divided into two categories. The ones that were domesticated by cultivators were called spirit beasts. Those that drifted in the fog and would fight with cultivators to the death were called fierce beasts. At this moment, the light over the western part of the continent continued to distort and then suddenly collapsed with a bang. The thunderous rumble suppressed all thunder and rain as it echoed across the entire continent. It clearly entered the origin sect. A spirit beast that was completely black and about 1,000 feet wide with the shape of a tadpole slowly entered the broken barrier. It went through all the lightning and squeezed itself into the continent of Moluo. If it was just this spirit beast, it wouldn't be enough to break the barrier above the continent. However, on the back of the beast was an arrogant-looking old man. He slowly withdrew his right hand, which was surrounded by purple wind. Mid-month already, brothers. Do you have likes for the VIDE already? Don't hold back, wishing for those likes. Chapter 1144, Rainbow. An arrogant laugh echoed. Aside from the old man, there was also a youth in purple. His laughter echoed across the world, and was filled with excitement and arrogance. Henceforth, this origin sect will belong to this young lord. The thunderous rumble echoed as the giant black beast entered the continent of Moluo. The old man, standing on the head of the giant beast, looked dotingly at the youth, and smiled. As the youth laughed, the black spirit beast below him charged at an unimaginable speed toward the origin sect on the east side of the continent. The purple Dao-ish young master has arrived. Why hasn't the origin sect come out to greet him? An old and gloomy voice echoed, following the thunderous roar of the beast. The only sect on the continent, the origin sect, heard this loud and clear. The old man knew that the young master liked to act domineering in public. Normally, the old man wouldn't act like this, but right now, the fate of the origin sect was in his hands. Therefore, he accompanied the young master in being arrogant. The old man waved his hand, and a gust of purple wind swept forward. All the rain that was falling was pushed back. It was as if the rain had to stop wherever the gust of wind passed. Even the lightning was torn apart by the gust of wind. The lightning scattered like a blooming flower. At this moment, all the disciples in the origin sect awakened from their cultivation. Their faces were all pale as they felt a powerful pressure from the west that felt like it could crush them at any time. At the top of the eastern mountain in the origin sect, the middle-aged man among the four elders had a bitter expression. He silently closed his eyes, but then he fiercely opened them. He turned into a ray of light and flew west. Teacher just left the world and the purple Dao sect is already acting so arrogant. I keep enduring it, but why not just let me, Li Shangdong, be arrogant for once? Even if I die, I'll die an indomitable spirit. There was a sigh from the north and west mountain peaks. The two old men flew out and looked at each other before flying to the west. Right now was the moment of fate for the origin sect, and they couldn't endure anymore. However, even if they couldn't endure it, what could they do? Did they dare to kill the purple Dao sect's young master? Also, the power contained within that old man's words was enough to shake their hearts. Song wooed. He lost a teacher in the past. Now that teacher is dead, he came personally. Could it be that my origin sect is really fated to fall from grace for eternity on top of the southern mountain? Lu Yanfei stood in the red pavilion in a red dress. Her face was filled with sadness and killing intent. She didn't hesitate to rush out in a ray of red light toward the west. Rudy, even if I, Lu Yanfei, I'll not yield to you. Lu Yanfei bit her lower lip as she flew. Tears fell from the sides of her cheek and mixed with the rain. It was impossible to distinguish her tears from the rain. Behind the four great elders of the origin sect were their direct disciples. They flew toward the west filled with panic, determination, or anger. Shu Yun was among them. Her face showed that she had the determination to die. However, for some unknown reason, while she flew, two figures appeared in her mind. One figure had black hair and was very thin but always as calm as water. The other figure had white hair, and with the wave of his finger, the world would collapse. These two figures filled her mind until they eventually overlapped. Wang Lin stood inside the Taoist temple and looked at the rays of light disappearing before him. He shook his head and unhurriedly thought about where he would go after the origin sect was destroyed. In the end, he frowned and muttered, "It's really troublesome." He waved his sleeves and stepped forward. Ripples appeared under his feet, and he disappeared from the Taoist temple. The purple python that had been laying low since Wang Lin had appeared, and was still filled with fear, charged out. It let out a roar toward where Wang Lin went. It was as if it knew that Wang Lin had left and wouldn't come back for a long time, so it dared to let out a roar. The night of the continent of Molul was about to end, and the sun was beginning to rise. At this moment, the purple wind flew across the sky, and the black spirit beast followed. The old man looked very arrogant and calm. He was confident he could easily deal with the origin sect. The youth in purple beside him revealed an excited look and began shouting obscenely. "Uncle Song, heavily injure Lu Yanfei, but don't kill her. Let me play with her for a few days and suck her origin energy dry, then it won't be too late to kill her." The youth in purple licked his lips. The old man beside him nodded. Just as he was about to speak, he was suddenly startled and stared straight ahead. He saw ripples appeared in the void before him, and powerful origin energy fluctuations began to spread. A man with white hair walked out from the ripples. The white-haired man had a cold expression, and the moment he appeared, a monstrous killing intent filled the world. The black spirit beast immediately stopped, and the old man's expression changed. The youth in purple frowned, and was about to shout when the old man stood before him. The old man stared at Wang Lin with a serious expression and said, "I am the purple Tao sect's Song Wudo. Can fellow cultivator give me some face and let me pass?" Hearing the old man's words, the youth in purple was startled and carefully examined Wang Lin. "I'll give you some face, so immediately get the hell out of here and never come back." Wang Lin's cold voice stabbed at the old man like the cold wind. The old man's expression immediately became gloomy. Although he was weaker than the origin sect's ancestor, he was still a mid-stage Nirvana cleanser cultivator. He couldn't really see through the other party's cultivation, so he was polite, but he didn't think the other party would be so arrogant. What an arrogant tone. Even when the ancestor of the origin sect faced our purple Tao sect, he had to before the old man could finish speaking. The youth in purple behind him laughed. Wang Lin no longer spoke, and coldness flashed through his eyes. As he stepped forward, he raised his right hand and strands of slaughter energy rushed out of his body. At this moment, a monstrous killing intent appeared. The dense slaughter energy caused a large amount of cold energy to appear. The surrounding raindrops all turned into ice crystals. The 1,000-foot spirit beast immediately began to tremble. It was very smart and immediately noticed the danger of this slaughter energy. Feeling the danger, it immediately began to retreat without the youth in purple's order. The purple youth's face turned pale, but he still shouted, "You!" However, this time, before he could finish speaking, the old man immediately slapped the youth and sent him flying to the black spirit beast. He then waved his sleeves and rapidly retreated with the black spirit beast. "Leave quickly! I'll meet up with you after I kill this person." The old man's expression became serious. After sending the spirit beast away, he rushed toward Wang Lin. The youth in purple rarely saw the old man this serious, so panic appeared in his heart. He quickly retreated with the black spirit beast. Wang Lin waved his right hand, and all the slaughter energy around him became crazy. Each strand released a roaring howl as they charged at the old man. The old man's pupils immediately shrank. His hands formed seals and purple wind appeared and collided with the slaughter energy. The thunderous rumble echoed far and wide. "Summon the rain!" Wang Lin lifted his left hand and pointed at the sky. At this moment, all the rain within 1,000 feet, 10,000 feet, 100,000 feet trembled. As Wang Lin pointed, every raindrop trembled and origin energy surrounded them. Then the raindrops shot at the old man. The old man's heart was in so much shock that it was impossible to describe with words. He had never seen the two spells the youth in white had used, but the power of these spells made him gasp. He was about to dodge when Wang Lin's cold gaze locked onto him, and Wang Lin calmly said one word. "Stop!" The old man's body trembled, and he stopped in the air. At this instant, the surrounding countless ice crystals gathered around the old man. A moment later, a giant ice crystal appeared in the air. Wang Lin didn't stop. His right hand reached out, and the crack to his storage space appeared. A rusty iron sword immediately appeared in Wang Lin's hand. He walked forward with the sword, raised it, and mercilessly slashed down. The world was still bright right now, but the moment the sword fell, the entire world was enveloped in an extremely bright flash. There was a heaven-shaking rumble, and the ice crystal shattered into pieces of bloody fragments. The old man's eyes were still filled with shock and disbelief as his body fragmented. Even his origin soul shattered under the impact and exploded in a shockwave of origin energy. All of this happened in a few breaths of time. Instant kill. Even until death, the old man still couldn't believe that he was killed in such a short period of time. However, his death wasn't unreasonable. Whether it was the slaughter energy or summon the rain, these spells were powerful enough to shock anyone in the cultivation world. In addition, the attack from the pseudo-nirvana void treasure was enough to make a peak nirvana cleanser cultivator lose a layer of skin if they didn't die instantly. Without even mentioning Wang Lin's combat experience, Song Wudu hadn't died to a nobody. After instantly killing Song Wudu, Wang Lin turned to look at the black spirit beast that hadn't gone too far yet. The purple youth that witnessed all of this screamed in fear. Wang Lin coldly looked at the youth in purple and stepped forward. Rays of light arrived behind Wang Lin. The scream, filled with extreme fear, clearly entered the ears of the Origin Sect's 4 elders and echoed inside Lu Yanfei's mind. At this instant, the sky cleared and the rain dissipated. A vague rainbow appeared across the sky. The figure chased after the black spirit beast. His white hair was so dazzling that the figure was deeply imprinted in Lu Yanfei's eyes. Mid-month and it's been forgotten. Hoping for the like button for the video, tears start to flow. Is there still time? You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Chapter Untitled. Xinhai looked at Shangguan Yun and said, "Senior brother went to greet the messenger from Heaven's tower. I believe he will be here soon." At that moment, the formation lit up again. Everyone outside the valley stopped their chatting and turned to watch. 10G. Huayuan clenched his fists as he gloomily stared at the formation. He had already made up his mind that the moment Wang Lin appears, he will use the curse to teleport next to him and make him suffer all the torture in the world. The formation shined brightly and 13 people walked out. Tang Huayuan's face became even more gloomy as he pinched another soul in the flag. He sneered in his heart. "Wang Lin, if you really cold-hearted enough to not care about your family and Dante come out, then I'll admit that I underestimated you. But even if you manage to get away, once I reach the mid-stage of nascent soul, I can increase the power of the curse to find you." The cultivators outside of the valley began to talk again. The qualification battle this time is too strange. Before, the first to come out always had the most people, and then the number of people decreases from there on. Why is it that the second group has more than the first group? Strange. I have a feeling that the matter this time is very strange. What sect is it this time? If any of you know, speak quickly. It's the He Yuan sect. I know that slut, Wang Ying. As long as she appears within 100 feet of me, I can smell her stench. That is correct. That is the He Yuan sect. As people talked, the faces of the 2 nascent soul cultivators of the He Yuan sect, Cheng Huan and Chen Yan, darkened. They sighed as they looked at each other, then their expressions returned to normal. The disciples of the He Yuan sect gloomily rushed toward Cheng Huan and Chen Yan with complex expressions on their faces. The leading female disciple quickly threw a voice transmission jade to the 2 nascent soul cultivators when they arrived. Chen Yuan frowned. He placed the jade on his forehead and was startled. Then he quickly looked at Wang Ying and asked, "Is this true?" Wang Ying respectfully said, "Ancestor, we saw it with our own eyes." The disciples behind her all seemed to already know the contents of the jade and all quickly nodded. Chen Yan looked at everyone, then took the jade from Chen Yuan. After scanning the jade for a long time, she let out a cold laugh and crushed the jade into dust. Suddenly, a pair of eyes from one of the orthodox sects looked at them. Chen Huan and Cheng Yan immediately turned and saw Xinhai nodding at them. Chen Huan and Chen Yan noticed Xinhai's reaction when the Piao Miao sect disciples came out, but couldn't guess why. However, after seeing the jade, they realized what happened. Tang Huayuan frowned as he looked at Chen Huan, Chen Yan, and Xin Hai. He suddenly felt that something big was going to happen, but he didn't know what the problem could be. After speculating for a bit, he couldn't figure out what was wrong, so he let out a cold snort and destroyed another soul in the flag. At that moment, not only Teng Huayuan, but all of the other sects realized that something was wrong. They didn't know what the disciples could have said to make the faces of 3 nascent soul cultivators become so dark. Even the small families, small sects, and independent cultivators noticed that something was wrong, so they all gathered together and started talking. Just at that moment, the sky suddenly darkened and a circle of light silently appeared. The circle of light floated to the middle of the sky, then expanded to 10 meters in radius. 4 people walked out of it. The person in the front was fat like a ball with a smile on his face, but the moment he appeared, all of the nascent soul cultivators flew into the air and respectfully stood at his side. This person was the messenger that was left at Zhao Linyi. Li Yin let out a laugh and said, "Everyone, I am here to help the messengers of the higher cultivation countries open the gate to the foreign battleground. I won't mess with your right to enter, so please rest assured." The 3 people behind Li Yin were Punanzi, the white-haired cultivator from the Piao Miao sect, and the skinny cultivator from the Tian Dao sect. These 3 accompanied Li Yin and landed in the middle of the clearing. All of the other nascent soul cultivators quickly followed and stood at their sides. Xin Hai took the chance to stand next to the white-haired old man and sent over some voice transmissions. This white-haired old man was the Piao Miao sect #1 expert, Shui Mei. After he heard Xin Hai's message, he calmly nodded. The formation lit up again and 5 people walked out. The moment those 5 appeared, a wave of cold energy spread out. The 5's eyes were bloodshot. They looked around and found a corner to sit in. What sect are they from? Everyone immediately started to talk again. After a long time, no one could figure it out, so everyone started guessing what sect these 5 were from. Shui Mei, who was standing beside Li Yin, suddenly laughed and said, "Lord Messenger, look at these disciples of the corpse sect, filled with hostility. I heard that the corpse sect has a secret technique that allows their disciples to fuse with their corpse puppets. I guess those 5 are these so-called human puppets." Lin Yi nodded and said, "Those 5 are indeed human puppets." The skinny man from the Tian Dao sect looked around and frowned as he said, "Why isn't fellow cultivator Yi here?" Lin Yi shook his head and said, "The corpse sect didn't follow the rules of keeping the token within the Juming Valley, so they are disqualified. Even if he doesn't come, it doesn't matter." With that, he casually looked at crowd in the northwest and secretly thought, "The corpse sect, this time. Several more people will finish the possession and recover their cultivation." Thinking about that, Lin Yi suddenly turned toward to Wufeng Valley's nascent soul cultivator and said, "Wufeng Valley also didn't keep their token and is disqualified. But they gave their token to another sect, so that sect is allowed to have 2 tokens because there is no limit on the amount of tokens you can have." The nascent soul cultivator of Wufeng Valley was an old man in black. His expression didn't change as he looked at Teng Huayuan. Teng Huayuan was also silent. Even though he was a guest elder, he still paid a huge price to get the token. The formation lit up again. Suddenly, Teng Huayuan's heart pounded as he felt the curse. He stared at the formation, waiting for Wang Lin to appear. The moment Wang Lin appears, he will immediately teleport out. Mid-month and the hope for likes on the video has slipped by 2 days already? Tears streaming. Is there any hope left? Chapter 1145. 1 strand of hair. The white hair flowing under the rainbow was an image that would forever be burned into the eyes of the 4 great elders of the Origin sect. The smell of blood in the air and the fluctuations from the collapsed Origin soul indicated that a shocking battle had occurred here. That amazing flash, even though it only lasted for a moment, had taken the life of the Nirvana cleanser cultivator that they were planning to fight to the death against. This scene caused the 4 of them to become transfixed. In their eyes, the white-haired man was only a figure. Although he seemed slow, in reality, he was like lightning as he charged at the youth in purple on the black spirit beast. The scream of the youth in purple revealed the fear in his heart. Although Rudy was at the illusory yin stage, due to his high status, he had never encountered such danger. Originally, he thought it would be an easy, fun trip. He thought that with the protection of Song Wood and his status as the junior master of the Purple Dao sect, he could do as he pleased in the rank region. He could never have dreamt that this would happen. Even now, he still couldn't believe that Song Wood had been killed by this white-haired youth like this. Not even Song Wood's origin soul had managed to escape. The white-haired youth had become the most terrifying beast in the world to him. The figure that closed in made the youth in purple scream even louder. I am the junior master of the Purple Dao sect. If you kill me, my father, Lu Yongkong, will slaughter the entire continent of Mo Luo. He was afraid. He had never been this afraid before. The shadow of the white-haired youth got closer and replaced everything in his vision. The black spirit beast trembled under him and continued to retreat. This spirit beast had already awakened its intelligence, and its fear of Wang Lin was no weaker than the fear it felt toward its master. The youth in purple seemed to have gone crazy from fear, and he shouted at the top of his lungs, "If you dare to hurt me in the slightest, my Purple Dao sect will hunt you down for the rest of your life." His right hand touched his bag of holding, and he took out a black lotus. The lotus was completely black and bloomed in a demonic way. It gave off a strange light that enveloped the youth's twisted face. Just as he was about to use the treasure his father had given him, a finger appeared before him. This finger looked gentle, but it instantly landed between his eyebrows. With a bang, the youth in purple coughed out blood, and his vision blurred. 2 streams of blood flow out from his eyes. His body flew back like a kite with a broken string, and popping sounds echoed from his body. Large amounts of blood mist spray out from his body and dyed the sky red. It was a shocking scene. His origin soul collapsed. At this moment, he felt his heart pounding, and it was like his body was floating in the air. His heartbeat became weaker and weaker, as if he and his heart were in 2 different worlds. The sound gradually faded until he could no longer hear it. At this moment, the direct disciples of the 4 great elders arrived, and what they saw was a bloody person blown off the black spirit beast. The person exploded into a pile of flesh and blood before falling from the sky. Inside the blood mist under the rainbow, the white-haired figure was engraved into their hearts. Shu Yun stared at the figure before her and trembled slightly. She bit her lower lip, and her eyes revealed a strange light. Rudy died. His body collapsed, and his origin soul disappeared like his Uncle S. There was a blooming black lotus and a bag of holding in Wang Lin's hand. If the person who Rudy threatened wasn't Wang Lin, and instead was a native of the rank region, then it might have had some effect. This would be especially true for those from sects weaker than the Purple Dao sect. Even on impulse, they would hesitate and would only capture Rudy in the end. They wouldn't dare to kill him. After all, within the rank 5 region, the Purple Dao sect was powerful enough to be ranked in the top 10. Most important was the name Lu Yongkong. He was extremely talented, and within the rank region he was extremely famous. However, all of these threats were useless before Wang Lin. A mere Lu Yongkong and a mere Purple Dao sect wherein qualified in Wang Lin's eyes to be a threat to his existence. Whether it was the Thunder Celestial of Al Heaven, the Vermilion Bird Divine Emperor, Celestial Emperor Baifangus Cross-Generation Disciple, Celestial Lord Qing Shuai's Junior Apprentice Brother, or the disciple of the now awakened Celestial Emperor Qing Lin, any one of these titles had far more weight than anything the Purple Dao sect could compare to. Wang Lin's 1,000 years plus of cultivation experience were not something a genius like Lu Yongkong could compare to. The threat from the Purple Dao sect was a joke. It couldn't even compare to a strand of hair on Tuo Sen's body. With a wave of his right hand, the giant black spirit beast that was trembling and had just lost its master was put away by Wang Lin. It didn't dare to resist at all. The sky was already bright, and a new day had arrived with the arrival of the sun. The rainbow was no longer a blur, it became clear and bright. As it crossed the sky, it gave off a gentle light. It enveloped the world, the continent, and also the vision of all the disciples of the Origin sect. Wang Lin's white hair flowed, and with one step, he disappeared. From beginning to end, not a single cultivator from the Origin sect saw Wang Lin's face. They only saw that indomitable figure and the long snow-white hair. The surroundings were completely silent, and everyone's breathing became even heavier. The elders, aside from Lu Yanfei, all looked at each other in shock. In a short period of time, their despair and sadness were replaced with shock. It all happened too fast, and even now they felt like they were dreaming. Who is he? Why did that senior help the Origin sect? To instantly kill Song Wood, what is his cultivation level? He has white hair, Xianxia softly said. Then she let out a faint smile. This smile hadn't appeared since her teacher was seriously injured. Her smiling face was like a blooming flower. There was an unspeakable grace and beauty in her happiness. Her 3 senior apprentice brothers had thoughtful gazes as they looked at where Wang Lin disappeared. They silently pondered, but the shock in their minds made it so they were unable to calm down. After a short period of silence, the direct disciples of the elders erupted into cheers. They turned toward the rainbow and returned to the origin sect with the 4 elders. The Purple Dao sect will not sit idly when they hear about Song Wu's and Rudi's deaths. As the 4 elders moved, one of the old men suppressed the shock in his heart and sent out his thoughts to the remaining 3. Before teacher died, he said north and white hair. That senior has white hair, and is perhaps the person teacher was talking about. Perhaps our origin sect isn't at its end yet. However, who is this senior? Is he part of our origin sect? I have observed the 31 mortals, but I've found nothing. If he was willing to help us once, then he will help us a second time. Lu Yanfei's divine sense was determined, which caused the other 3 to silently ponder. It is useless to search. Since this senior doesn't want us to find out, then let things happen naturally. Lu. Yanfei's eyes were bright, and she smiled once more. Her right hand touched her bag of holding and sent inside a force to destroy an old painting. It didn't take long for the people of the origin sect to return to the sect. They all scattered, filled with excitement. Lu Yanfei didn't return to her pavilion in the southern mountain but went to the herb courtyard with Xu Yun. The 2 women were both very charming. When they stood together, it was a really breathtaking sight. There were some disciples that saw them from a distance, and they entered a moment of trance. However, thinking about Lu Yanfei's status, they quickly awakened and went to greet them, but they were waved away by Xu Yun. It was clear that they didn't wish to be disturbed. Teacher, he lives right here. Xu Yun's heart pounded wildly as she spoke to her teacher. Within the star fog of the rank domain, there was a purple continent that was 3 times the size of the continent of Moluo. From afar, it was like a coiled-up fierce beast that was coldly staring at the sky. The distinct difference from the continent of Moluo was that there were 4 large, black towers that emitted gentle light that surrounded every corner of the continent. At this moment, the star fog suddenly began to churn, followed by a scream. A 1,000 feet tall tiger-like beast rushed out from the fog and stared at the purple continent with hatred in its eyes. It could vaguely hear the miserable cries of a female tiger coming from the continent. As it roared, it moved like lightning toward the continent. It was so fast that it closed in on the continent in the blink of an eye. It collided with the light barrier around the purple continent, causing the barrier to flicker violently. The tiger-shaped beast let out another roar and charged once more. However, at this moment, a ray of purple light charged out at an unimaginable speed. Inside it was a middle-aged man wearing a purplish gold robe. He looked very dignified, and his gaze was profound. There was a hint of gloominess on his face. He was so fast that after midges appeared, he instantly broke through the barrier and appeared among the stars. With a wave of his hand, purple light appeared and wrapped around the tiger. Refine. His cold voice echoed as the purple light around the fierce beast turned into a giant furnace. Mournful roars came, but they gradually disappeared. Congratulations, Sect Master, in luring another star tiger beast. It won't take long for Sect Master to refine his tiger bone sword. A laugh appeared, then an old man wearing the same purple robe appeared beside his man. It's the middle of the month. Wishing Leo's video gets plenty of likes. Remember to like and share Leo's video, okay? And don't forget to leave your thoughts about the video. Chapter 1146. The hope of the heaven-defying bead reaching completion a second time. I am still missing 9. However, all the star tigers within the area are gone, so I need to go out further. The middle-aged revealed a grim smile, but before he could continue, his expression suddenly changed. He raised his right hand and reached at the void, creating a crack to his storage space. A jade flew out and immediately cracked, revealing a soul fragment. The soul fragment was in the shape of Rudy. His eyes were filled with the fear before his death and dissipated before the middle-aged man. Junior Master! The smile disappeared from the old man in purple and shock filled his eyes. The middle-aged man watched the soul fragment disappear. He didn't move at all and slowly closed his eyes. The old man beside him was shocked. He looked at the sectmaster and his heart trembled. He had followed this sectmaster for many years. He knew that the more calm the sectmaster was, the bigger the storm to come. Where did Rudy go? After a long time, the middle-aged man opened his eyes. There was a trace of sadness burning in his eyes, but his voice was terrifyingly calm. The old man bowed down and said respectfully, Junior Master went to the continent of Moluo. He was still in shock and hadn't calmed down yet. He couldn't understand who in the rank region would dare to kill Junior Master Rudy and risk offending the Purple Dao Sect S Master Lu Yongkong. Continent of Moluo, origin sect, why did no one tell me about this? The middle-aged man's voice was calm, but when it landed in the old man's ears, the old man trembled. He suddenly remembered something, and his face turned pale. Junior Master as a cultivator, he still lusted for beauties and was arrogant. He used his status as the junior master of the Purple Dao sect and ruined quite a few female disciples of various sects. He even did vicious things such as sucking their origin yin energy without waiting for the old man to finish. The middle-aged man shook his head and seemed to mutter to himself. Sect master, the old man's face was pale. Who went with him to continent of Moluo? It should have been Song Wood. That child grew up under Song Wood's care. Perhaps to him Song Wood was like a second father. He went to the continent of Moluo because he is after Lu Yanfei of the origin sect. He was taking advantage of the fact that that old bag of bones died and wanted to make the origin sect his inner palace. The old man silently pondered. As far as he knew, everything the sect master said was true. The middle-aged man raised his head and looked at the star fog before him. After silently looking for a bit, he turned and walked toward the purple continent. That useless child, he is dead, so now there is one less scourge in the world, however. I am still his father. Since he liked that Lu Yanfei girl, then let that little girl die with him. As for the man that killed him, he can be buried with him as well, the middle-aged man said without any emotion in his voice. He wasn't like this before this figure was more bleak. The old man's expression became even more pale. After hesitating for a while, he clenched his teeth and said, Sect Master, before the junior master left. This old man heard Song Wood say that the junior master was going to the Purple Cloud Sea to take the Heaven Yin flag that the Purple Dao sect left there. After taking Lu Yanfei's origin soul, he was going to use all the female origin souls he collected to feed a Yin celestial. The middle-aged man's figure suddenly stopped and the calmness in his eyes collapsed. A monstrous wrath revealed itself, but a sense of fear and panic also filled his body. Ungrateful child! Continent of Moluo, origin sect. Lu Yanfei looked silently at the ordinary house. After hesitating a bit, she walked into the courtyard. Shu Yun followed, and she was very tense. She could clearly hear her heart beating rapidly. Wang Lin's door was closed. Lu Yanfei and Shu Yun stood outside the door and became silent. After a long time, Lu Yanfei bit her lower lip and softly said, Is Senior here? Not here. A calm voice came out from the house and entered their ears. They were startled by it as they didn't think they would get a response like this. In truth, a very long time ago in the Alliance star system, a woman also asked this question and also got this answer. After all, whether it was the original body or the avatar, both were Wang Lin. Lu Yanfei let out a smile that was very beautiful. She bowed toward the house and softly said, Teacher once had an uncle master named Lu Zihao. According to teacher, Grand Uncle Master Lu Zihao was obsessed with Dao. Aside from when he went missing, he had never left the continent of Moluo. He never even went to the main sect or had many friends. Not many people in the origin sect even remember him due to time. Even my 3 senior apprentice brothers have never seen him. Junior only saw a portrait of him, and it was teacher who showed it to me. He gave me the portrait because this Grand Uncle Master Lu is an ancestor of my Lu family. This portrait was far too old and was tattered. On the way back just now, it was destroyed. After saying all of this, Lu Yanfei respectfully left with a smile. Shu Yun was confused by her teacher's words. She had no idea why her teacher had said those things. Wang Lin sat on the bed and stared at the black lotus in his right hand. He raised his head and his eyes shined brightly. His gaze seemed to be able to penetrate the house and landed on the departing Lu Yanfei. Lu Yanfei's body trembled, but she didn't stop. She maintained her calmness and walked out of the courtyard. What a clever woman! Wang Lin withdrew his gaze. Aside from when she talked to him on the mountain, they had no other contact. Yet this woman was unexpectedly able to come up with such an amazing analysis just from the report from her disciple, their conversion on the mountain, and him killing Song Wood and Rudy. Chu Yun wasn't able to understand her words, but with Wang Lin's cunning, he clearly understood. Lu Yanfei was certain he was the white-haired person, and in her mind, for someone of his cultivation level to hide in the origin sect meant that he was either after something in the origin sect or was hiding from enemies. However, Lu Yanfei couldn't think of anything he would want, so she became more certain about hiding from enemies. Therefore, if Wang Lin wanted to continue to stay in the origin sect, he needed an identity to not cause any suspicion. What Lu Yanfei just said was giving Wang Lin such an identity. As for Wang Lin's enemies, she obviously had to choose to ignore them. Wang Lin had met countless people in his life, but not many women this intelligent. Different from Liu Mei's ever-changing mood, different from Red Butterfly's arrogance, different from Li Muan's gentleness. This was wisdom. An unmatched wisdom. After pondering a bit, Wang Lin revealed a smile and muttered, "Lu Zihao, this identity will allow me to take root in the Cloud Sea Star system." The reason Wang Lin paid so much attention to his identity was due to his experience in Al Heaven. Wang Lin didn't notice it then, and in the end his identity was transparent to all the powerful cultivators. This caused him a lot of inconvenience. After all, they would all have the thought of rejecting those that didn't belong to their system. In particular, with his cultivation level, it was difficult to deal with the issue of his identity. Although this didn't solve the issue perfectly, it did give him a path to resolving it. No longer thinking about this, Wang Lin placed his right hand on the black lotus. Then his divine sense spread out, and he began studying it. If this black lotus was only a treasure, he wouldn't pay so much attention to it. However, as he checked it with his divine sense, he was surprised to find that this lotus was a real plant. A few simple law formations were added as a seal. This Cloud Sea Star system is strange to have a naturally formed treasure like this. If the seal on the lotus is broken, then it can form a powerful protection. It is indeed interesting. Wang Lin put the lotus down after examining it and picked up the bag of holding from the youth in purple. The youth in purple had a lot of miscellaneous things inside the bag. Aside from the scattered weapons and pills, there were three things that caught Wang Lin's attention: a completely purple bottle, a small golden flag, and an incense stick the side of a baby's arm. As for celestial jades, there were very few, less than 100 pieces. Unfortunately, after reaching the Nirvana cleanser stage, one no longer uses a bag of holding. A self-open storage space is impossible for outsider to find even after death. Otherwise, that Nirvana cleanser cultivator might have had some good treasures and pills for me. Wang Lin shook his head as he picked up the golden flag. After scanning it with his divine sense, his expression became gloomy. This small flag was filled with yin energy. As Wang Lin's divine sense spread through it, he immediately found the yin souls of over 100 women. These women were all beautiful, and some of them were incomparable. However, these women all looked miserable as they were sealed inside and couldn't escape. There was the soul of a snake inside that seemed to be devouring these women. The moment Wang Lin's divine sense swept by, it seemed to have been startled awake from its sleep and released a terrifying aura. Even Wang Lin's eyes narrowed when he felt this aura. This is Wang Lin's mind was shaken, and his divine sense retreated from the attack of the beast's soul. He stared at the golden flag, and his pupils shrank. Aura of extreme yin. Wang Lin suddenly stood up, and his calmness was disturbed. A monstrous surge of emotion hit him, and he took a few deep breaths. Unfortunately, it is not complete. There is only a trace of extreme yin. However, the method of breeding it is completely wrong. It can be compared to the extreme yang the alls are created by using Bai Wei. This extreme yin is too poor in quality in comparison, however. It is still a sliver of extreme yin. Wang Lin touched the spot between his eyebrows. After the heaven-defying bead was complete with the 5 elements, it needed yin and yang. He had obtained the extreme yang form Bai Wei, and was only lacking the extreme yin to complete the heaven-defying bead the second time. Mid-month, hoping to get the like button pressed for the video. Chapter 1147, Shuyun Sardek. Holding the small golden flag, Wang Lin's eyes closed slowly. His eyes shined as he pondered. To use women's souls to nourish extreme yin is completely wrong. Back then, the ulcer used Bai Wei's extreme yin body and extracted the extreme yang during its peak. That's the correct method. In order to obtain a complete extreme yin, one must obtain it at the peak of extreme yang. After looking at the golden flag, Wang Lin shook his head. At a glance, he could see that all those numerous female yin souls were added in later on, and it hadn't been a long time. This really is nonsense. Wang Lin waved his right hand and a storm set off inside the golden flag. His divine sense smashed into the formations that were trapping those women's souls and broke them. The moment the formation shattered, the miserable souls flew out, and their eyes were filled with confusion. However, they were all talented people within their sex before they were killed and sealed inside the flag by Rudy, so they quickly regained their sanity and then silently bowed toward Wang Lin. They showed hints of bitterness, liberation, and gratitude as they dissipated. What awaited them perhaps was reincarnation into another life, or perhaps nothing. Staring at these souls dissipate, Wang Lin became silent. It didn't take long for all the souls to disappear, leaving only the extreme yin soul. This extreme yin let out a roar and charged out the moment those women's souls disappeared, as if it wanted to escape as well. Just as it peeked out, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and his left hand formed a restriction. It landed on the golden flag. Then there was a flash of blue light. The extreme yin soul seemed to smash into an iron plate and was pushed back as it roared. Wang Lin completely ignored it as his left hand formed more restrictions that landed on the golden flag. He completely sealed it before putting it away. Not only is the method to raise this extreme yin not correct, it's also not complete. Since this belonged to Rudy, then there must be more clues at the Purple Tao sect. After pondering for a bit, Wang Lin picked up the purple bottle. This jade bottle was warm and there was heat cycling inside. There was a cycle of origin energy inside that formed an eternal rotation. Wang Lin's divine sense surrounded the bottle. Under the effect of his divine sense, the bottle slowly became transparent, and he clearly saw 3 pills that were slowly rotating with the origin energy inside. The 3 pills were roughly the same size, and all gave off a purple glow. There was a fierce aura coming from within them. After withdrawing his divine sense, Wang Lin's gaze landed on the 3rd item, which was an incense stick the size of a baby's arm. He wasn't unfamiliar with this item. Back in the Alliance, he saw this in the memories of the mosquito beast. The cultivators of the Cloud Sea had used this incense to confuse the mosquito beast and lure them away from the 4 divine sect. Time slowly passed and the rainy season passed, ushering the sun to the continent of Moluo. Wang Lin seemed to have grown accustomed to the life in the origin sect and spent all his time learning alchemy. Xu Yun was very respectful toward this person named Seng Niu that was living next to her. Although Wang Lin hadn't admitted it yet, Xu Yun's female intuition told her that Seng Niu was the white-haired man. Whenever she thought of Wang Lin's figure and graceful movement, she would tense up. At this moment, she stared at Wang Lin with confusion. This is Ning Shui grass. It is an item to help create pills. Most pills in my origin sect require this. When a cultivator in the Cloud Sea reached a certain cultivation level, they would gain a certain degree of understanding of alchemy. This had a lot to do with the alchemy methods of the Cloud Sea. What puzzled her was that Seng Niu didn't know any of what was considered common sense. For Wang Lin to refine pills, he would first have to memorize the names and effects of all the herbs. Some of the herbs that he knew from the Alliance had different names here, so Xu Yun had become a target for Wang Lin's questions. This is Ink Cloud Herb, a key component of the Cloud Deficiency Pill. Wang Lin's expression was cold and calm. He had used a very short period of time to memorize all the herbs in this garden. Wang Lin looked around the garden and asked, "Is there any mist flower?" The jade he saw in the Taoist temple said that in order to refine a rank 6 or higher pill on top of the beast's soul, there were 3 even more important herbs. One of those herbs was the mist flower. The mist flower can only grow in continents that are shrouded in the star fog. Rumor has it that the more dense the fog, the more mist flowers there are. In the origin sect, I only know of 3 dried mist flowers, and they are all with Uncle Master Li. After Xu Yun finished explaining, she added one more thing. Uncle Master Li's alchemy skill is considered unmatched in the origin sect. Wang Lin nodded, and no longer paid any attention to Xu Yun. Instead, he gathered some herbs based on the method of alchemy he had read and returned to the house. Seeing Wang Lin take the herbs, Shu Yun felt her heart ache, but she didn't dare to show it on her face. As Wang Lin walked back to his room, Shu Yun quickly said, This requires you to go to the alchemy room in the eastern courtyard. Not only is there a pill furnace there, but there are also earth, fire, and protection formations. That way even, if the furnace explodes, there will be no danger. No need. Wang Lin didn't turn around as he walked into the room. It wasn't until Wang Lin left that Shu Yun stomped her foot and became filled with dissatisfaction. Most of the herbs in the garden were things she had spent a lot of effort gathering. Some had been given to her by her master after her master found them while exploring dangerous wild continents. It can be said that most of the herb in the garden were Shu Yun and her master's private properties. The disciples of the sect were all aware of this and wouldn't dare to come here for herbs. Shu Yun valued these herbs greatly, however she was helpless as she watched Wang Lin take them away. He didn't even listen her and was going to refine without going to the alchemy room. Especially considering how he didn't even know the names of some of these herbs, it was obvious this was the first time he was refining. Once the pill exploded, not only would the house be destroyed, but even the garden would be affected. Shu Yun stomped her feet but didn't dare to go up to stop him. Not going to the alchemy room means he must have his own pill furnace. He only knows how to use his high cultivation to bully a junior like me. Bully. The more Shu Yun thought, the more angry she became. She simply sat down outside and began to wait. When the pill exploded, she would need to do her best to protect the herbs. A large amount of the goodwill she previously had toward Wang Lin had also dissipated. Arrogant, arrogant! When Shu Yun thought of Wang Lin's expression, she became even more angry. Although alchemy has some relation with cultivation, it doesn't have much effect. What it requires is experience and countless attempts. No matter how high the cultivation level, the success rate of refining for the first time won't be high. Shu Yun frowned as she focused herself and helplessly stood guard. Wang Lin didn't pay attention to Shu Yun's dissatisfaction. After returning to the room, he sat down and waved his hand. All the herbs he had picked floated in the air. His left eye lit up and flames immediately began burning in his left eye. Alchemy doesn't necessarily need a pill furnace. A pill furnace was used to not let any of the medication escape and to better condense heat for the pill to take shape. None of this was a problem for Wang Lin. The fire of the world moved as he willed. At this moment, white flames appeared and circled around Wang Lin. The fire began to condense until it was a ball of fire. Wang Lin's gaze was calm as his right hand reached out. All the herbs in the air began to separate into different portions. One part went to the side and one part went into the fireball. This was Wang Lin's first time refining a pill in the Cloud Sea. Although it was only a rank 3 pill, Wang Lin was still very serious. He stared at the fireball and his gaze penetrated inside. Those herbs rapidly melted inside the fireball and became crumbs. However, with Wang Lin's control of fire, they didn't even turn to ash but began fusing. They absorbed each other's unique medical attribute and began to fuse. Shortly after, Wang Lin's right hand reached out and a storage space appeared. A ray of black light flew out into Wang Lin's hand. There was a tadpole-like spirit beast soul inside the black light. This was Rudy's beast. This beast was very arrogant when it followed Rudy. It would often cruelly devour mortals and injured cultivators. It enjoyed the dry sweetness of blood and flesh in its mouth. However, at this moment, the beast's soul was trembling in fear and constantly roaring. It wanted to break out from Wang Lin's palm, but no matter how much it struggled, it was a pointless endeavor. As Wang Lin waved his right hand, the beast soul let out a miserable scream and fused with the pill. Soon, a medical fragrance began to spread out inside the room. Just at this moment, Wang Lin frowned as his right hand reached into the fireball and grabbed the pill. A large portion on the beast soul was immediately pulled out. The moment Wang Lin's right hand left the fireball, the half-complete pill trembled and collapsed. Then a destructive force began to spread out. However, it was stopped by the fireball that wrapped around it. It let out some muffled sounds but didn't break the fireball. Pill explosion! Outside the house, Shu Yun heard the muffled screams and immediately stood up. She was very tense. However, after waiting for a while, she still didn't encounter the explosion. All she saw was a gloomy Wang Lin walking out and taking even more herbs. Shu Yun finally reacted and immediately began stomping her foot. She wanted to get some justice from Wang Lin, but thinking about his gloomy expression just now, she became afraid. She could only complain in her heart. What a bully. That pill will definitely explode this time as well. Welcome everyone to watch. Fans of the narrative chapter expressed their wishes for praise in the latest installment. May the new chapter receive even more acclaim. Chapter 1148, Wild Continent. Shu Yun's words came true. In a short span of 3 days, Wang Lin had refined 16 times and failed every time beside the last one. Every time he failed, he would silently search for the reason before picking more herbs. Looking at the garden that was still vibrant 3 days ago and was almost barren now, Shu Yun's eyes couldn't help but turn red. This garden had taken her a lot of effort. And even when she refined pills herself, she was very careful and never used too many herbs. However, in just 3 days, almost all the herbs were gone. Although the pill explosion she dreaded never occurred, she'd rather have an explosion destroy most of the garden. It was better than being tortured like this. Looking at the house she hated very much, none of the goodwill she had toward Wang Lin remained. Shu Yun could not bear it anymore and rushed into the house. She saw Wang Lin sitting there, holding a complete pill. What made Shu Yun feel very hateful was that Seng Niu was smiling while looking at the pill. Seeing that smile made Shu Yun's anger rise. Seng Niu! Shu Yun was gnashing her teeth and took a deep breath. Thinking about her own speculation of his cultivation level, she suppressed her anger and kept telling herself not to be angry. After placing her hair behind her ear, Shu Yun softly said, Seng Niu, congratulations on refining a pill. Can I see it? After experiencing 15 failures, almost all the herbs in the garden had been used to refine this pill. The beast's soul had merged with the pill more than 10 times, and the pain of going back and forth was worse than death. The beast's soul wanted Wang Lin to succeed so its suffering would end. Wang Lin looked at the pill in his hand and felt regret. There were a lot of details one had to pay attention to when fusing a beast's soul with a pill. These things were not explained in the jade, and he had to experience it himself. At this moment, when Wang Lin heard Shu Yun's words, he subconsciously touched his nose. He looked past Shu Yun's beautiful body at the almost barren garden, and even with his 1,000 years of cultivation, he felt a bit embarrassed. With a wave of his right hand, Wang Lin threw the pill at Shu Yun. Just as he was about to speak, he was interrupted by a scream. Shu Yun's eyes widened as she stared at the pill and could no longer contain the anger in her heart. At this moment, every notion of the white figure, the graceful finger, the powerful senior were all thrown out of her head. For the past 3 days, she watched helplessly as the herbs she had spent so much time to raise, the herbs she wasn't even willing to use herself, were pulled out one by one. In the end, he had only refined a rank 3 pill. A rank 3 pill was very precious, and it was something a corporeal yang cultivator would need. However, all the herbs inside her garden should have been enough to refine a rank 4 pill. If it was Uncle Master Li, then there was a sliver of a chance of refining a rank 5 pill. Seng Niu, return my herbs. Shu Yun's eyes were red and she was about to get justice from Wang Lin. However, when she raised her head, she found that the room was empty. Seng Niu was gone. Wang Lin's figure appeared in the sky above the continent of Mo Luo, and he touched his nose once more. He revealed a bitter smile and Shu Yun's voice still echoed in his ears. Forget it. It's only a courtyard of herbs. Wang Lin shook his head and flew into the sky as a ray of light. He disappeared over the horizon. After breaking through the light barrier around the continent, the cloud sea appeared before Wang Lin's eyes. In the jade inside the Taoist temple, aside from alchemy and beast soul-related information, there was also a star map of the rank region the continent of Mo Luo belonged to. After studying the star map, Wang Lin found that aside from the continents that people lived on, there was another type of continent called the wild continents. These were similar to the abandoned planets in the Alliance or All Heaven. However, in the Cloud Sea, these wild continents didn't have black towers, so they were shrouded by the star fog. They became lairs for fierce beasts and often housed numerous fierce beasts. Some very precious herbs often grew on continents like these. Following the star map in his mind, Wang Lin charged into the star fog. The star fog was like clouds. Aside from covering vision, it also prevented divine sense from spreading too far. Wang Lin wasn't familiar with the Cloud Sea star system, so he couldn't help but slow down. On the wild continent near the continent of Mo Luo, The beasts had gradually become more scarce throughout the years. It had become a place for the Origin sect disciples to train. Only some low-level beast remained, and even most of the herbs had been cleared out. This would naturally not be Wang Lin's choice. He was going to go for a wild continent even further out, one where fierce beasts lived and not many cultivators had explored. So there would be still large amounts of herbs there. Wang Lin moved faster and faster. There would often be a flash of light as he broke through the fog and went into the distance. Although his divine sense could only probe within 10,000 feet, a Nirvana Scryer cultivator could only reach 1,000 feet. Only Nirvana Cleanser cultivators could reach 10,000 feet. Along the way, various strange beasts appeared within Wang Lin's divine sense. These beasts were all eerie. One was a long, scaled fish. When it opened its mouth, countless sharp teeth could be seen, and it gave off a fishy smell. There were a few that looked like dragons, but their bodies were only few hundred feet long. These red beasts moved like lightning and lived in herds. Hundreds of thousands of them moved through the cloud sea. Also, there were beasts like the nether beast Wang Lin had seen, but much smaller, only few thousand feet wide. These beasts were slow, but even those red beasts avoided them. There were also tadpole-like black beasts like the one Rudy had. They hid within the fog, giving off a hidden pressure. However, when those beasts felt Wang Lin's divine sense, they all quickly retreated. While moving through the fog, Wang Lin's eyes lit up and his right hand reached at the void. A storage space crack opened and buzzing sounds came out as the mosquito beasts flew out. These dozens of mosquito beasts flew around and emitted thunderous cries filled with joy. In particular, Wang Lin's purple mosquito beast was flying left and right in joy. Wang Lin's body flickered, and he sat down on the mosquito beast. Without waiting for Wang Lin's order, it rushed forward and flew inside the star fog with its companions. Time seemed to go on for eternity inside this star fog. It was hard to notice because there was no night or day, only the dense star fog that surrounded everything. After silently calculating for a bit, Wang Lin calculated it had been 3 days. With his speed, he was already far away from the continent of Moluo and was closing in on a dangerous wild continent marked on the map. It didn't take long for a giant shadow to appear in Wang Lin's divine sense. This shadow was large enough to cover the sky, and he could vaguely hear roars coming from it. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and the mosquito beast below him became cautious. As they closed in, the shadow cleared up. This was a huge, wild continent. Wang Lin jumped off the mosquito beast, pierced through the fog, and landed on the wild continent. This place was filled with star fog. If not for his divine sense and his feet standing on the continent, it would have been very difficult to distinguish this place from just space. The surroundings were completely silent with fierce roars coming from the distance. These roars seemed to indicate that this place wasn't as peaceful as it seemed. The ground consisted of black sand. Wang Lin slowly walked forward on the sand and eventually arrived before a ruin. This was obviously once a mortal city, but there was no sign of life. The buildings had collapsed and there were dry brown red blood marks. Just at this moment, a black shadow charged out from a ruined house. It let out a roar along with its fishy breath and charged at Wang Lin. The shadow was only few dozen feet long, but it moved like lightning as it charged at Wang Lin. Wang Lin remained calm. He didn't even need to act, as the mosquito beast charged out and went straight toward the shadow. With a bang, the shadow's body trembled, and the mosquito's mouth pierced through its head. Then the mosquito sucked, and the entire black shadow shrank. The mosquito beast flew back with disdain in its eyes. Wang Lin patted the mosquito beast's head and pointed ahead. The mosquito beast king immediately flew out, leading more than 10 of its kind into the ruins. The moment they flew forward, many shadows charged out from the ruins. There were at least a dozen of them. They all let out roars and charged at the mosquito beasts. With Wang Lin's insight and divine sense, he immediately saw that they were black apes. They were exactly the same as the ones inside the pill Xu Yun had devoured. "Leave the souls behind," Wang Lin's voice calmly echoed in the ruin. The mosquito beasts and ape beasts weren't even on the same level, so the battle soon ended. The apes died one by one, leaving behind a powerful smell of blood. More than 10 mosquito beasts flew back to Wang Lin. They let out cries and also spat out beast souls, which were put away by Wang Lin. Due to the smell of blood, the roar of beasts from afar became even louder, and the ground began to vibrate. Even gusts of wind appeared to push the fog before it. Wang Lin's expression was still calm as he walked into the ruin. He scanned it with his divine sense and left after finding no herbs. His figure moved through the fog as if he had merged with the mist and gave off a powerful killing intent. He seemed to give off a fiercer aura than any of the fierce beasts, and the 10 mosquito beasts cried as they circled above him. Before this fierce aura, even the roars from the distance gradually weakened until they eventually disappeared. The ground stopped trembling and the wind disappeared. Today marks the first watch, longing for the like button for the VIDEO. The VIDEO wants to charge up the trending charts, hoping the veteran supporters lend their firepower. Chapter 1149, Mobilization and Control. This continent was named Kai Ape on the star map. It had many mountains, and they appeared and disappeared within the fog. The roars of fierce beasts came from the mountains. The ruins of cities that were hidden everywhere in the fog silently showed how prosperous this continent used to be. However, now it was just a ruin, and the sounds of the past had disappeared. What remained was just the vestige of time. Among the fierce beasts, there were those that liked to be in groups and those that liked to be aloof. At this moment, in one of the mountains, the roar of a specific beast was the most violent. The roar was so intense that not even the fog could hide it. This mountain was completely black and towered into the air like a sword that pierced into the sky. Large apes nearly 100 feet tall were moving though the mountain, desperately rushing to the peak. There was a giant black ape fierce beast sitting in the lotus position like a human. It was no less than 1,000 feet tall. Its arms were as thick as old pine trees, needing several people to completely surround. There was giant purple tree that only reached its calf where it was sitting. The trunk of the tree was mostly withered, as if it had lived for far too long. However, it wasn't dead. It still had many branches with lots of leaves growing on them. What was strange was that the leaves of the tree were snow white and the veins on the leaves were very easy to see, as if they were made of crystal. There were also 2 fist-sized fruits that were a mix of black and white. It was a strange sight. This giant ape opened its eyes, and its eyes lit up brightly like 2 bright flames. Its eyes emitted such a fierce gaze that it penetrated through the fog. The gaze landed on a white-haired figure that was surrounded by a large amount of fierce beasts in between the mountain peaks. When it looked at Wang Lin waved his right hand and a black wind appeared, taking the lives of more than a dozen black apes. Wang Lin raised his head and met the cold gaze. Roar! A heaven-shaking roar came from the top of the mountain. The fierceness of the beasts around Wang Lin increased, and a wave of fishy smell blasted at Wang Lin. They wanted to tear his body apart and even devour his soul. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he looked at the large amount of fierce beasts before him. He rushed forward and turned into a ray of light as he charged toward the mountaintop. In the sky, more than 10 mosquito beasts roared, and around them were some eagle-like beasts. These beasts gave off a ferocious aura and began a life-and-death battle with the mosquito beasts. Wang Lin moved forward. All of the beasts that blocked him exploded into a rain of blood with a wave of his hand. His hand reached out to open his storage space, and flying swords flew out. These flying swords circled around Wang Lin in a sword formation. He didn't pause at all as he slaughtered his way up the mountain. From afar, a white line moved at an unimaginable speed, causing a rain of blood as it closed in on the mountain peak. The giant ape that was sitting there revealed a ferocious gaze and stood up. When it stood up, the entire mountain trembled, and it charged down the mountain at Wang Lin. It wasn't any slower than Wang Lin, and in an instant, they were about to collide. The black ape revealed a ferocious gaze and smashed down with its right arm. However, Wang Lin's body immediately disappeared without a trace, and the black ape missed. Then it saw Wang Lin reappear next to the giant tree on the mountain peak. The giant ape's pupils obviously shrank, and it let out a roar. It swung its right hand, sending a gust of wind that seemed to become one with the world toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's right hand fell on the giant tree and gently patted it. The giant tree disappeared with its roots as Wang Lin put it inside his storage space. At this moment, the gust of wind arrived. Wang Lin's left hand formed a seal and pointed forward. Strands of slaughter energy appeared and formed a slaughter storm around him. The slaughter energy wailed as it charged at the gust of wind. A thunderous rumble echoed and the gust of wind instantly collapsed. The slaughter energy didn't pause at all before slamming into the giant ape. The giant ape let out a heaven-shaking roar when the slaughter energy collided with its body and caused a bloody mess. Its body was mercilessly thrown into the air. Wang Lin raised his head and his eyes lit up. His body moved like a meteor and closed in on the giant ape. He pointed at the giant ape's body multiple times. Every time his finger landed, the giant ape would let out a miserable roar and tremble. Every time Wang Lin's finger landed, a new hole would open up on the giant ape's body, and a large amount of blood would spray out, dyeing the surroundings red. Rays of origin energy entered the black ape through Wang Lin's finger and formed a seal. Wang Lin withdrew his finger and said coldly, "Are you willing to become my spirit beast?" He had already been on this wild continent for 7 days. He had killed many fierce beasts and gathered a large amount of herbs. Some of these beasts could use spells and fight against cultivators. There were even several rank 5 fierce beasts that could match Nirvana Scryer cultivators. But they had all been killed by Wang Lin and had their souls taken. The giant black ape was also a rank 5 beast, but it had very tough body. Even after being hit by Wang Lin, it was only seriously injured and not dead. Even among the rank 5 beasts, it was at the peak and could enter rank 6 at any time. This was why Wang Lin suddenly wanted to tame it. What answered Wang Lin was an even more violent roar and a punch from the ape's left arm. The ape's fist set off a gust of wind and even contained a faint aura of an ancient goddess punch. This really showed how powerful the black ape was. Wang Lin frowned. He wasn't fused with his original body, so his body wasn't as strong as the black ape's. He let out a cold snort and was going to dodge, but at this moment, for some unknown reason, the scene of that old man using a palm to block the arm of an ancient god appeared in his mind. Wang Lin silently pondered as he faced the gust of wind. He was completely calm. All the origin energy in his body moved toward his palm and gathered there, causing a thunderous rumble. He simply closed his eyes and the scene of the old man stopping Tuo Senna's hand replayed repeatedly. Wang Lin gradually felt a sense of enlightenment. It was just like how he had gained enlightenment from the handprint in the Rain Celestial Realm. On this wild continent inside this fog, he was facing a situation similar to what the old man did against Tuo Sen. Wang Lin had seen the third step before, and had also been able to experience the third step with Qing Lin's help. All of these allowed Wang Lin to gain a startling enlightenment regarding the spell the old man had used that obviously belonged to the third step. The gust of wind blew Wang Lin's clothes backward, and the giant ape's arm closed in. The moment it was about to smash into Wang Lin opened his eyes and gently placed his palm on the giant ape's arm, which was already before his face. A powerful force came out from the arm and collided with the origin energy in Wang Lin's palm. There was a thunderous rumble, and his clothes flapped violently in the wind and his white hair was blown backwards. However, his body didn't move at all. The giant ape's body also trembled. It felt like its arm hit fog and didn't have any feeling of contact at all. Instead, its body trembled, and it felt a sudden, inexplicable pain. Wang Lin's eyes became brighter and brighter as the old man's action replayed endlessly in his mind until it was almost second nature. He subconsciously lifted his left hand and quickly pointed at the back of his right palm. Every time his fingertip fell, origin energy would gather from the world and condense into his palm. After pointing 3 times, Wang Lin's face turned slightly red, but his eyes lit up and he let out a roar. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The giant ape immediately retreated, and a large amount of blood gushed out from his arm. A clear palm print was left on the arm along with 3 cracks from the finger. The cracks began to rapidly spread along the giant ape's arm. The cracks continued to spread, the rumbling sound continued, and blood sprayed everywhere. Wang Lin's eyes were bright. He didn't look at the giant ape, but looked at his right hand with a hint of enlightenment. He didn't know what the name of the spell was, but he vaguely felt like he had gasped something. Just now he wasn't using his own origin energy to mobilize the origin energy of the world. He was controlling it instead. Controlling the origin energy of the world by force required origin energy from all directions to form a tyrannical attack. A mournful cry interrupted Wang Lin's thoughts, and the giant ape's eyes filled with fear. It looked at the 3 cracks spreading across his body. The ape felt like it would be torn to pieces if it moved a bit too hard. At the moment of danger, the giant ape began to glow white. Under this white light, an illusory soul appeared above its head. This illusory soul was blurry, but it looked like the ape with a more human shape. It looked like it wanted to charge out from the ape's body and leave. Upon seeing this, Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Soul condensed into spirit. According to the Jade, this was a spell only rank 6 beasts could use. It was unexpected that this giant ape would have a breakthrough at this moment of life and death. Wang Lin took a step forward and instantly arrived before the giant ape. Then his right hand slammed down and the soul of the giant ape was pushed back into its body. Wang Lin stared at the giant ape's eyes and calmly said, "Become my spirit beast." The giant ape's body trembled, and its eyes filled with fear. It had already awakened its intelligence and naturally understood Wang Lin's words. It nodded. Wang Lin's right hand hit the giant ape and the 3 cracks on his body immediately disappeared. At the same time, his right hand formed a beast-controlling seal and placed it on the giant ape. The seal landed between the giant ape's eyebrows and disappeared. At this moment, the mosquito beasts had killed all the eagle-shaped beasts in the sky and were hovering next to the giant ape. Wang Lin sat down on the shoulder of the giant ape and looked ahead. The giant ape let out a roar as it charged off into the distance like a meteor. For now, just the first watch today. Leo will rest tonight and start catching up on the missed chapters tomorrow. Chapter 1150, Shocking Change. This vast star system was filled with star fog. Although it seemed quiet, there was heavy killing intent within the fog. This was the rank 5 region of the Cloud Sea, and about 40% of the continents here belonged to sects. For the rank 1 to 4 regions, the rank 5 region was an unreachable existence. If someone from a rank sect went to the rank region, they would be welcomed with grandeur. At this moment in the rank region, a whistling sound appeared in this calm fog. A ray of light flew within fog, and inside the light was a dragon-like spirit beast. There was a dignified cultivator standing on the head of this beast. The fog began churning even more intensely, and the surrounding beasts all scattered in fear. Several more rays of light passed by. This didn't end. In just 7 short minutes, no less than a dozen rays of light broke through the fog and quickly moved through the rank region. There were various spirit beasts within those rays of light, and there was a cultivator standing on the back of each of these beasts. None of these cultivators belonged in the rank region. All of them belonged to the rank region. The appearance of these people shook the rank region. This wasn't the only place. This happened in more than 6 places in the rank region. These cultivators all had gloomy expressions, but they were hiding ecstasy and excitement along with endless greed. These cultivators that came from the rank region all had the exact same goal, a wild continent in the rank region. The ground in north of the continent Wang Lin was on continued to tremble as if something heavy was landing on the ground. The fog was being churned and pushed forward. Some bird-like beasts let out cries as they flew far away from the fog. On the ground, many more fierce beasts scattered. To them, the rumbling from the fog was extremely terrifying. A moment later, a giant figure more than 1,000 feet tall appeared in the fog. This figure was extremely sturdy, and when it got closer, it finally revealed itself. It was a huge black ape. There were bull-like beasts with red eyes chasing after the black ape. They churned the fog and kicked up a dust storm. Aside from these bull-like beasts, there were 7 more different kinds of beast herds. They were mixed together, forming a long line. It seemed like they were refusing to give up their pursuit of the black ape even if it meant death. In the sky, there were some bird beasts that were chasing like crazy. Anyone who saw this would feel their scalp go numb. Even powerful cultivators would be shocked because there were simply too many beasts. There were obviously some rank 5 beasts mixed in that threw spells at the black ape. However, the black ape was extremely flexible and had very thick skin, so it dodged many of the spells, and those that landed on its body didn't have much effect. Make yours! This black ape was running on the ground. The rumbling sound was the sound of the black ape's footsteps. It moved very fast and created a powerful gust of wind as it ran. There was a mountain before it. As the ape ran, it mercilessly kicked off the ground, causing the earth to shatter. It directly jumped over the mountain and charged toward another mountain. In only a few breaths of time, it arrived at the top of the mountain. Several eagle-like beasts charged at the black ape. However, before they got close, they burst into a rain of blood as the black ape waved its arm. It seemed like no fierce beast could stop the black ape. it rampaged up the top of the mountain, and at the peak lay a nest. The black ape got close, then his hand directly smashed into the nest. There was a bang as the nest shattered into countless pieces, revealing a small patch of red grass growing there. The black ape's hand didn't stop. After destroying the nest, it directly grabbed the rock near the red grass and pulled it out. The black ape let out a roar filled with joy and then ran off into the distance. Those eagle-shaped beasts screamed, and no less than 1,000 eagle beasts merged into the crazed beast tide and chased the black ape. The black ape crushed the rock in its hand, revealing the red grass, and tossed it over its shoulder. Wang Lin, who was sitting on the shoulder, grabbed it. After taking a look, he put it inside his storage space. Wang Lin gently patted the black ape's body. The black ape immediately felt it and let out another even more joyful roar. It seemed to move even faster. The earth shook. From afar, the black ape jumped up and down, kicking up dust everywhere. Behind it was the beast stampede that chased closely after the black ape. There were very few cultivators that dared to provoke the fierce beasts like this on a wild continent, and stole herbs so arrogantly. The power of one beast might not be a threat, but once thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of beasts gathered, their combined power was enough to shock anyone. There were also cultivators from rank 5 sects watching from away. They stared at all of this like wooden chickens and were unable to utter a word. They were a group of 7 and were very cautious from the moment they arrived here, afraid of attracting too many beasts, so they naturally didn't get many herbs. When they saw how arrogant the black ape was, they were completely shocked. The black ape quickly ran, and with one jump, it crossed thousands of feet and arrived at another mountain. This mountain peak was like a sword and was extremely steep, but it was nothing to the black ape. After arriving at the mountain, the ape reached toward a bunch of mist flowers that were growing on the peak. It immediately took the flowers inside the fog. Just at this moment, a scream came from the sky. It was a rank 5 eagle beast that was almost 500 feet large charging at the ape. Start creating now. It was too fast, and in the blink of an eye it was less than 1,000 feet away. Wang Lin's expression was neutral, as if he didn't even see it. The black ape's eyes narrowed as it grabbed the top of the mountain and swung its body over the top of the mountain. Its stout right foot immediately kicked the black eagle. The black eagle let out a painful cry and blood sprayed everywhere. The black ape didn't continue to fight, but borrowed the force to leap into the distance. Even more fierce beasts started chasing it. Xianxia was sitting in the lotus position in a dark valley. His face was pale and there was dried blood on the corner of his mouth. His black hair was scattered, and he was in a sorry state. A ghost-like howl continued to echo and whistle through the area. It didn't take long for 4 figures to stagger in, and when they got within 30 feet of Xianxia, one of them coughed out a mouthful of blood. "Teacher, third brother died. We can break out these 5 were all youths, and their white robes were covered in blood marks." Xianxia pondered. He didn't open his eyes, but sadness appeared on his face. He and his disciples were inside this valley that was filled with fog. Dead souls filled this fog, and outside the valley, there were 8 giant skulls floating there. Green lightning linked them together to form a formation. This formation was very intricate. It gathered the souls of those that died over the countless years on the wild continent. It then turned those souls into something tangible and used them to power this formation. These dead souls couldn't be refined into pills. Alchemy required the souls of living beasts. A dead soul was mostly just a sliver of resentment formed at the moment of death that refused to dissipate. There was an old woman sitting on top one of the 8 skulls. This old woman was a bag of bones and hideous like an angry ghost. If a mortal saw her, they would be frightened to death. She opened her eyes, and her gaze revealed an eerie intent. "Fellow cultivator you only have 4 of your 19 disciples left. Why continue wasting their lives? If you hand that thing over, this old woman will leave immediately." A gloomy voice echoed throughout the valley and clearly entered the ears of these 5 people. The faces of the 4 youths were deathly pale as they silently looked at their master. "Xianxia, it is not worth losing your life over some worldly possession. Although your cultivation level is high, you have been poisoned by my 5 poison sect's poison. If you use your full power anytime soon, you will definitely die. Consider it carefully." Xianxia's face twitched as he slowly opened his eyes. They shined brightly, but there was a hint of bitterness on his face. He was the head disciple of the Clear Flow sect in the rank region, and he was at the late stage of Nirvana Cleanser. After finding some clues, he secretly brought his disciples to the rank region to search for something. He originally didn't think this clue was likely to be true, but he unexpectedly found that the clue was true, and everything went smoothly. However, after finding the item, not only was his whereabouts exposed, but even the item he obtained became known. Afterward, he was besieged and lost countless disciples. He had even been affected by a strange poison and had to flee to this valley to expel the poison. However, before he could dispel the strange poison, he was caught by this old woman of the 5 Poison sect. She had used her sectess formation to trap him inside the valley. He had already sent a message to his sect in secret, but it would take some time for help from his sect to arrive. Fellow cultivators, even if your Clear Flower sect sends people, it will be useless. According to what this old woman knows, within the rank 6 domain, aside from my 5 Poison sect, the Mountain Peak Spirit sect, the Tao Spell sect, the Escape sect, and the Devil Collection sect all came and are after the things in your hand. The Jade of the rank 8 Heaven-Breaking sect and the legendary pill recipe of a Nirvana Void pill. Not paying attention, this chapter quickly racks up 5,000 words. Does that qualify as a major chapter? Could it be wishing for the like button for the VIDEO? Chapter 1151 came so quickly. Wang Lin had been on this wild continent for a while. Considering the matter at the Origin sect, he couldn't stay on this wild continent much longer. Although he wasn't afraid of the Purple Tao sect, if he wasn't there, the Origin sect would be wiped out with their present strength. If it was the past, Wang Lin wouldn't have cared. But since he had killed people of the Purple Tao sect, he was already involved in this matter. Moreover, that clever female cultivator, Lu Yanfei, had also respectfully gifted him an identity. Also, there was the clue of the extreme yin that he needed to obtain from the people of the Purple Tao sect. Therefore, Wang Lin decided to act arrogantly for once, and use the black ape he had just tamed to rush into the nest of these fierce beasts to steal the herbs by force. He allowed the army of the beasts to follow them. It has to be said that Wang Lin didn't think the black ape would be able to steal so well. It even seemed very used to this. This kind of proficiency obviously wasn't something learned overnight. After doing this for so long, it had become second nature. During these days, Wang Lin didn't even need to set a target. The ape was very familiar with this continent, and moved like lightning. It would rush in, take the herb, and then run away without looking back. After each successful steal, the black ape couldn't help but let out a roar of excitement. It was as if it was very satisfied with its own behavior. What made Wang Lin smile wryly was that he vaguely felt like this black ape was famous on this wild continent. It was very skilled at avoiding the beast chasing it, as if it often did this. If these fierce beasts had only had their herbs stolen once, they wouldn't chase for several days without caring about exhaustion. There was a hint of madness and deep hatred in them. Wang Lin began to speculate that some of the herbs these fierce beasts were hiding didn't grow at the mountain peaks but in other places that Wang Lin would need to spread out his divine sense to find. Otherwise, these places would be too difficult to discover with his eyes due to the fog. However, the black ape wasn't affected, as if it already knew where the herbs were hiding. It moved like lightning as it stole the herbs and left. It was as if the black ape had already been observing everything for a long time. During these days of looting, the black ape warmed up to Wang Lin. Sometimes it would look over its shoulder at Wang Lin as if it was looking at someone who was in the same trade. It was due to this finding that Wang Lin recalled the day he tamed the black ape. Even when he clearly revealed a stronger cultivation and injured the black ape, the ape wasn't willing to yield. Instead, its eyes were filled with hatred and unwillingness. It wasn't until the threat of death that it finally yielded. Presumably, this black ape that often stole others' herbs must have felt very complicated when it was robbed instead. However, there seems to be too many fierce beasts chasing us. Wang Lin sat on the back of the black ape and looked at the dust storm behind him. Angry roars constantly came from behind him and into his ears. He had already put the mosquito beasts in his storage space. The current situation wasn't suitable for the mosquito beast to appear. There were simply too many fierce beasts chasing them, and many were beasts they didn't even steal form. The moment they saw the black ape, they joined the army pursuing the ape. From afar, it was impossible to see how many fierce beasts there were. You could only see a line of dust being kicked up, and the fierce beasts were determined to catch the black ape. The black ape turned a blind eye to all of this. As it ran, it would sometimes twist its body to avoid spells. There were a few occasions where it was pushed into a bad situation, and it would roar repeatedly as if it was cursing. Wang Lin revealed a smile as his right hand reached at the void and opened his storage space. He took out a yellow talisman and placed it on the black ape's shoulder. In an instant, a yellow storm erupted around the black ape and it charged into the sky. The black ape's body trembled and its eyes filled with joy. Its speed suddenly increased, and it jumped into the air and landed before the beast army. However, it didn't immediately escape. It roared at the beast army. Then it rushed into the beast army, punching and kicking its way through before breaking out on the other side. The beasts all roared and became even more crazy. Seeing that the black ape was about to charge back in, Wang Lin frowned slightly and patted the black ape's shoulder. The black ape immediately stopped and began to run once more. Time slowly passed. Due to the black ape becoming faster, it became like a robber. It swept through every area that it knew had herbs and immediately left after taking them. The beast army behind Wang Lin gradually grew even larger. The earth trembled and the fog churned. After circling the wild continent, the black ape seemed unsatisfied. It charged toward the center of the continent with the beast army following it. Wang Lin calculated the time, and didn't stop the black ape. During these days at the wild continent, Wang Lin gradually learned that there were fierce beasts of even higher rank inside. The black ape quickly rushed toward the center of the continent. There weren't many mountains here, and instead it was filled with valleys surrounded by hills. The valleys were mostly filled with fog, making it impossible to see inside, but there would usually be an eerie pressure coming from inside them. When the black ape charged into the valley, Wang Lin became serious. These valleys were too quiet with no roars of fierce beasts. Once the black ape entered, it was completely empty. It was as if all the fierce beasts here had disappeared. Wang Lin wasn't the only one puzzled. Even the black ape slowed down. It stared ahead and didn't know if it could continue. Wang Lin pondered a bit, and the earth began to tremble. The beast army had rushed into the central part of the continent and charged at the black ape. Wang Lin raised his head, and his eyes lit up as he pointed forward. The black ape immediately began to rush forward. Under Wang Lin's command, the black beast didn't move fast and the beast army gradually caught up. It looked like this beast army was charging into these valleys under the command of the black ape. Time quickly passed. As the black ape moved through the valley, the beast army also rushed in. Just at his moment, Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. He stood up and stared ahead. At the same time, a gloomy voice came from ahead. The 5 poison sect has a matter to attend to here. Irrelevant people, quickly leave The gloomy voice just had begun speaking when it turned into a cry. The voice obviously saw the endless army of fierce beasts that were chasing the black ape. At this moment, Wang Lin's divine sense also saw the 8 giant skulls outside the valley that were absorbing the dead souls and converting them into attacks. He also saw a withered old woman standing on one of the skulls. The old woman's pupils shrank. The fog here made it so she couldn't see very far, and her divine sense was limited. However, the vibrations from the earth gradually grew stronger, and soon the endless beast wave entered the range of her divine sense. At this moment, she couldn't help but gasp. However, with her cultivation level, her intelligence was high. After seeing the black ape, she immediately realized that this large number of beasts was chasing the black ape and the white-haired cultivator on its shoulder. A hint of killing intent appeared in her eyes. She didn't believe this was a coincidence. Either it was the clear flower sect sending reinforcements or one of the other 6 sects had arrived early. They came so fast. The old man took a step forward and charged at the black ape. A poison mist began to spread out before her. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he immediately realized that he had accidentally entered a battle. These 8 skulls were obviously a formation to trap and kill a person or beast inside the valley. However, he didn't have time to explain. The old woman was too fast and the poison was already blowing this way, plus she had killing intent. Wang Lin jumped off the black ape and gave the black ape a command. The black ape silently changed directly forward at the 8 skulls around the valley. At the same time, Wang Lin's right hand formed a seal and pointed forward. Black wind immediately appeared and turned into black dragons that charged at the old woman. The old woman's cultivation level was the same as Song Wu's, mid-stage, nirvana cleaner. However, her poison cultivation made her very powerful and far stronger than Song Wu. Seeing the black wind closing in, she immediately formed a seal and spat out 3 mouthfuls of air. The first breath turned into red fog that quickly spread out. It collided with the black wind, and a heaven-shaking rumble occurred. The second breath turned into black water that sprayed out like rain. It penetrated the red fog and charged straight at Wang Lin. Every drop of black water contained a strange poison. If just one drop landed, it would be enough to decay his flesh into a pool of blood. The third breath flashed 7 colors before it turned into a statue more than 1,000 feet tall. Poison King, please appear. Poison Spirit Seal. The old woman was vicious and immediately used her most powerful spell. The Poison King statue's eyes lit up. Then light that seemed corporeal shot out of them and formed a black mark before the statue. The moment the seal appeared, it charged at Wang Lin. If it landed on his body, on top of his flesh turning into a pool of blood, even his origin soul would instantly die from the poison. The old woman was extremely vicious. In order to take the Jade and Nirvana Void Pill recipe for herself, she had used her strongest spell to kill Wang Lin. She was even worried Wang Lin would dodge her spells, so she waved her sleeve and a small snake appeared like lightning. This small snake was her life-linked beast and was completely black. There was a small crown that looked like a rooster's comb on its head, and the moment it appeared, a fishy smell filled the area. Here comes another 4,000 words in a major chapter. Leo doesn't make empty promises. Could it now be time to wish for the like button for the video? Chapter 1152. Inside the Valley. However, this old woman had underestimated Wang Lin's black wind. Now that Wang Lin had reached the Nirvana cleanser stage, the power of Baifin's spells began to show their true nature. More importantly, after the fortune Qing Lin had given him, Wang Lin gained a deep level of understanding of Baifin's spells. When the 5 black dragons collided with the red fog the old woman spat out, a thunderous rumble echoed. The 5 dragons roared, quickly tore through the red fog, and condensed into one. These 5 black dragons quickly fused and a powerful aura appeared. It quickly turned into a black spear. This spear wasn't real and was transparent, but the aura from it was heaven-shaking. The spear charged out. It ignored the black rain and poison seal and closed in on the old woman. All of this happened in a flash. Almost at the moment the old woman spat out the 3 breaths and took out the small snake, the black spear was less than 100 feet from her. A powerful cold wind caused the old woman's expression to change greatly. The wrinkles on her face were pushed in by the wind and her pupils shrank as he quickly retreated. She didn't have time to control the spells attacking Wang Lin, and her hands quickly formed a seal. Black scales appeared over her wrinkly skin. At this moment, she didn't look human, but more like a humanoid beast. Killing intent flashed through Wang Lin's eyes, and he floated in the air. The first thing that arrived was the seal formed by the gaze of the statue. It moved very fast and closed in on Wang Lin's chest. There wasn't time to dodge, but Wang Lin didn't intend to retreat. This old woman's cultivation level was slightly higher than Wang Lin's, and her spells were far more powerful than Song Wu's. Her attacks were vicious. But Wang Lin had killed his fair share of Nirvana cleanser cultivators. The braver man wins on the narrow path. The moment the poison seal closed in, Wang Lin raised his right hand and pushed out. He was suddenly less than 7 inches from the poison seal. Just at this moment, Wang Lin's left hand pointed at the back of his right palm at a very fast speed. Every time he pointed, a thunderous roar would echo. All the origin energy within 10,000 feet was being controlled by a tyrannical method to gather into Wang Lin's fingertip, and then go into his palm. Although this sounds slow, it only took an instant. The moment the poison closed in on Wang Lin's palm, an earth-shattering bang came from Wang Lin's palm and spread outwards. Under this impact, the black rain spat out by the old woman was no longer able to get close and was pushed away. It wasn't able to injure Wang Lin at all. This bang was louder than thunder and even began to echo as it spread across the continent. Even Wang Lin couldn't withstand the sound, and he couldn't help but take a few steps back. The poison seal trembled and countless cracks appeared on it before it shattered. The tyrannical origin energy from Wang Lin's palm pushed the shattered seal back and it landed on the chest of the statue. A black handprint appeared on the chest of the statue, and 2 cracks began to spread across the statue. Then the statue shattered into pieces. Just at the moment, Wang Lin retreated a few steps. The small snake broke through the shockwave by force and charged at Wang Lin. It let out a hiss and spat out an extremely poisonous gas. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy as he reached at the void and opened his storage space. The silver female corpse walked out. Without the need for Wang Lin to give an order, the woman in silver rushed at the small snake. Wang Lin jumped over the woman in silver and the small snake and directly charged at the old woman. The old woman's expression changed greatly as she continued to run, trying to dodge the black spear. However, the black spear was locked onto her and moved faster and faster. It seemed like it was about to break the space here. After seeing Wang Lin walk out from her killing formation, her face became even more gloomy. She bit her tongue and was about to spit out more poison when killing intent flashed through Wang Lin's eyes and he pointed at her. Stop! Countless invisible threads suddenly appeared in the world and wrapped around her. The word stop caused her body to tremble violently. Green smoke came out from her mouth and she immediately began to scream. The mouthful of poisoned blood wasn't tea spat out and instead flowed down her throat. This blood contained poison that normally wouldn't tea harm her. However, it was interrupted just as she was about to use it and the stop spell had frozen her body. As she screamed, a large part of her body began to decay. Just at this moment, the black spear closed in and pierced through the old woman's chest. It didn't penetrate through her body but exploded. The old woman's scream suddenly stopped and her body collapsed into a pool of blood. Her weakened origin soul was about to escape when Wang Lin waved his sleeve and captured it. Although this battle was short, Wang Lin still felt lingering fear from how dangerous it was. This old woman's poison spells were enough to let her beat most people at the same cultivation level. Even people with higher cultivation levels would suffer from her poison if they weren't prepared. It was a very common thing for Wang Lin to kill people, but today, killing had happened for no reason. He didn't even know her, and if not for the fact that she tried to kill him, he wouldn't have killed her for no reason. The small snake that was battling the woman in silver suddenly trembled and became weaker after the old woman was caught. Soon, the woman in silver caught the snake. At this moment, the black ape had already bypassed the battlefield and entered the valley the 8 skulls were surrounding. The beast army charged into the valley. There were a ton of fierce beasts, and because the old woman was gone, the 8 skulls became unstable. The lightning connecting them all collapsed. Wang Lin looked at the black ape in the distance, and the black ape understood the order to keep running. The earth continued to vibrate as the beast army chased it through the valley. There were some fierce beasts that wanted to charge at Wang Lin, but after he waved his sleeve, all of them died. It didn't take long for all the fierce beasts to leave him and chase after the black ape. He could still see the dust storm being kicked up. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he stared at the 8 skulls that had become even more unstable, like they were going to collapse. Wang Lin took a closer look before moving next to one of the skulls and hitting it with his palm. The skull trembled, and the ghostly light around it dissipated. It then shrank into a fist-sized gray skull and remained motionless. Wang Lin sealed the remaining 7 skulls the same way. These 8 skulls were clearly a set for a formation. Wang Lin didn't take them away, but sealed them, because he didn't know what was in the valley. His divine sense couldn't penetrate the fog. He cautiously entered the valley. It would only take a thought for the seal on the 8 skulls to dissipate and the siege from before to return. The valley wasn't very large. The first thing Wang Lin saw when he entered was a corpse. The corpse was rotting and he could only tell it was a male cultivator. There was a very unpleasant stench coming from the corpse. After frowning, Wang Lin walked forward and soon arrived at the center of the valley. His divine slowly spread out, and he soon found a figure sitting there along with 4 corpses that had died from poison. "Thank you for saving me." A weak voice came from the person sitting there. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he slowly walked forward and clearly saw everything before him. The 4 corpses were all rotting. Their eyes were dark, and there was a faint hint of confusion in them. The same foul smell was coming from their corpses as well. The person sitting there was a middle-aged man. His face was pale without any trace of blood, and there was a black line between his eyebrows. Even his origin soul was on the verge of death. It seemed the poison inside him had developed too far. This wasn't an ordinary poison. but an extremely powerful poison. Late-stage Nirvana cleanser. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. A poison strong enough to kill a late-stage Nirvana cleanser cultivator was a match for the 7th heaven poison. Did fellow cultivator also come for the jade and pill recipe? I don't know what sect you re from, but I believe these 2 items are something you must obtain. Even if I don't give them to you, I believe you have a way of opening my storage space. Forget it, I'll let you have these 2 items, but please kill me so I can stop suffering from this 1,000 purple worm. There was bitterness on the middle-aged man's face as he pleaded. Wang Lin silently pondered as he looked at the 4 corpses on the ground and then at the middle-aged man before nodding. These 4 people were my disciples. In order to protect me, they were infected by the poison of that old woman from the 5 poison sect and died. There was sadness in the middle-aged man's eyes. These 4 were the last of his disciples. If not for this incident, they would eventually become leaders in the sect. I can use origin energy with this poison in my body, so lend me a trace of origin energy to open my storage space. I'll take out the jade and pill recipe for you, then you can let me die a quick death. For the sake of worldly possessions, I ended up like this, and even involved my disciples. The bitterness on the middle-aged man's face became even stronger. Wang Lin still didn't say a word as he raised his right hand and pushed forward. A strand of origin energy shot out toward the middle-aged man. When it got within 3 inches of the middle-aged man, the origin energy suddenly changed. At 36, Leo is still getting wisdom teeth, in pain for many days, with swollen jaws, frustrated, and they're not even breaking through yet. Counting them, there are 3 or 4 wisdom teeth not yet emerged. Chapter 1153. There is silence before every major event. The moment it changed, Wang Lin's origin energy was no longer gentle. It contained the force of a mountain as it smashed into the middle-aged man. However, just as it was about to land, the middle-aged man suddenly raised his head and his face turned ferocious. A destructive aura was about to erupt from his body. Wang Lin's expression was still cold. After he sent out the origin energy, he opened his storage space and the iron sword swept forward. A ray of sword energy shot forward and the middle-aged man that was about to explode trembled. Blood appeared on his neck and then sprayed everywhere. What died wasn't just his body, but also his weakened origin soul. His eyes were open as he stared at Wang Lin, and his head fell off and rolled on the ground. His dim gaze was still ferocious. His trick before his death was not smart, but it was alluring for people who were after the jade and pill recipe. However, Wang Lin didn't know anything about them. More importantly, after Wang Lin entered the valley, he saw the first corpse and then the 4 corpses after. On the surface, they all looked the same, like they had died from the poison in their bodies. However, there were actually some subtle differences. Wang Lin was always cautious, so although the differences were small, he still saw them. The first corpse had really died from the poison in his body. The other 4 were not like this. They were killed first, and then the poison in their bodies activated. The positions of the 4 bodies made Wang Lin speculate. These 4 people were apparently killed by the middle-aged man for some reason. They could have been his disciple, as he said, or they could have been the old woman's disciples. In short, Wang Lin didn't want to know the karma behind all of this. He just knew that the middle-aged man was lying when he said he couldn't use origin energy. There must have been a reason for a person that was about to die to lie. Wang Lin didn't hesitate to kill a person like this. You were going to die either way in just a few days. Looking at the middle-aged man who had lost his head, the body quickly began to fester and his clothes shattered. Jade and pill recipe Wang Lin began to ponder. The old man was besieging this middle-aged man must have been after the jade and recipe. What kind of jade and pill recipe would cause 2 Nirvana cleanser cultivators to fight to the death? It even made a mid-stage Nirvana cleanser cultivator dare to try to kill a late-stage Nirvana cleanser cultivator. His original intent was to die from self-destruction, and then the opening of his storage space would dissipate. However, if one has a high enough cultivation level, it isn't difficult to take something out from the closed storage space. Also, from what he said just now, he obviously mistook me for a sect, rather than just one person judging by this. The battle for the jade and recipe is a battle between sects. He said that his disciples were poisoned by the old poison woman of the 5 poison sect. The old woman I killed earlier must have been her. Also, that old poison woman immediately tried to kill me when I appeared. She must have determined I represented another sect. Most importantly, the old woman said something before attacking. came so fast? Wang Lin suddenly looked up at the sky and his pupils shrank. Could it be that a large amount of cultivators from various sects are all coming here? If that's the case, then the value of the jade and pill recipe must be extremely high to cause a battle like this between sects. Wang Lin took a deep breath and his eyes shined. If 70% of my analyze is correct, then the middle-aged man must have been really concerned about the jade and pill recipe. Since he knew others could open his storage space, I fear he didn't place them inside it. Wang Lin looked around the valley before his gaze fell on the 4 corpses on the ground. His eyes narrowed. If I were him, what would I do if I encountered such a situation? Would I keep it in my storage space, or hide it somewhere else? Wang Lin silently pondered and closed his eyes as he placed himself in the role of the middle-aged man. Shortly after, Wang Lin suddenly opened his eyes, and his divine sense swept the corpses of the 4 disciples, but he found nothing. However, he wasn't willing to give up. A flame shot out of his left eye and surrounded the 4 corpses. The sound of fire crackling echoed in the valley. There was a powerful poison inside the corpses, and the fire gave off a ghostly glow. Soon, they were burned to ashes. However, there was a jade and a palm-sized animal bone fragment within the ashes. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a hint of excitement as his hand reached out and the jade and bone fragment flew into his hand. His divine sense checked the jade first, and his expression changed. Rank 8, heaven-breaking sect. Wang Lin took a deep breath before he calmed himself down and looked at the beast bone fragment. Even with Wang Lin's mental fortitude, he couldn't help but feel his heart rate increase. His eyes were filled with disbelief as he looked at the beast bone fragment in his hand. He couldn't say a word for a long time. Nirvana. Nirvana void pill. Although he didn't know what a nirvana void pill was, he knew the weight of the words nirvana and void to the powerful cultivators. In particular, there was one sentence in this pill recipe that rang a bell in his mind. He held the beast bone fragment tightly in his hand, and a monstrous killing intent appeared in his eyes. At this moment, if anyone tried to rob this fragment from him, they would receive Wang Lin's crazed attack. The person who takes this pill will have 10% chance of turning law into source origin and reaching what US cultivators call the 3rd step. The person who takes this pill have 50% chance of passing a heaven-s blight. The person who takes this pill will have an 80% chance to enter the Shi realm. It took a long time for Wang Lin to recover his composure. He quickly put the jade and beast bone away in his storage space. He didn't have time to think of the details, but he was extremely sure that these things were enough to cause a calamity in the cultivation world. Right now, the news of this pill recipe hadn't spread too far, but as the battle for it continued, it would eventually shock the entire Cloud Sea. Wang Lin hadn't felt his throat get dry in a long time. He licked his lips as he carefully erased all traces of him and took the corpses of the middle-aged man and another person. After he made sure he had left no clues, Wang Lin flew out from the valley. Just as he was about to take them away, Wang Lin hesitated and decisively pointed at one of the skulls. The skull immediately collapsed and the shattered fragments fell inside and outside the valley. Wang Lin's eyes flashed and thoughts raced through his mind as he took the remaining 7 skulls. Then, after pondering a bit, he took out the corpse of the disciple and placed it back in its original location. Then he carefully cleaned up the skull fragments that fell both inside and outside the valley, before leaving one piece behind in a very secretive place. After doing all of this, Wang Lin took a deep breath and put the silver female corpse away. He then turned into a ray of light and chased after the black ape. I have the origin soul of the old woman. I must not let her die. As long as she doesn't die, no one will know that an outsider joined in on this matter. They will all think the old woman obtained the pill recipe and went into hiding to keep it for herself. After all, there is still a fragment of the skull she used inside the valley. There's also the corpse of the disciple that died from her poison time was of the essences as cultivators of various sects were coming to the wild continent. Wang Lin didn't dare to stay for too long and could only achieve something like this. He wasn't in the mood to steal any more herbs and quickly move forward. Then he disappeared using spatial bending. When he reappeared, he was next to the escaping black ape. The moment the black ape saw Wang Lin, it became excited and excitedly pointed at various mountain peaks. It was obviously telling Wang Lin there were herbs there. Wang Lin didn't pay any attention. He took the yellow talisman off the black ape and put the giant ape in his storage space. Then he charged off into the sky, broke through the fog, and placed the yellow talisman on his body. He was still dissatisfied with his speed, so he took out the beast skin and put it on his body as well. As a result, Wang Lin's speed reached a peak as he pierced through the fog and left the wild continent. Even now, his heart was pounding as if he was in a dream. Everything that happened on this wild continent and what he obtained still felt unreal. After suppressing the excitement in his heart, Wang Lin clearly knew that if the information of the pill recipe was with him got out, then he would be subject to endless pursuit in the Cloud Sea Star system. This would be the same even in the Alliance and Al Heaven, because this recipe was enough to make some cultivators go crazy. In particular, those old monsters who were always in closed-door cultivation and had reached the peak of the Nirvana Shatterer stage and preparing for their Heaven-S blight would do anything for this pill recipe. I must not let anyone know this thing is in my hands. Wang Lin quickly moved through the rank region, and he didn't dare to spread out his divine sense. Wang Lin had a feeling that there were many cultivators rushing toward that wild continent in the rank region right now. If they met him, who was in a rush, they might suspect him, although the suspicion wouldn't be big once they saw what happened at the wild continent. They would recall anyone they found suspicious and focus on those people. The bigger the matter and more secrets you have to hide, the more calm you need to be. After charging out some distance, Wang Lin pulled out the giant black ape. He sat down on the shoulder of the giant black ape and ordered it to fly toward the continent of Moluo where the origin sect was. This place was still a few days away from the continent of Moluo, and despite his eagerness to leave, he remained calm as he sat on the giant black ape. He was like a true cultivator of the Cloud Sea. Several hours later, Wang Lin was already far from the wild continent. There were several other wild continents nearby, making it impossible for others to know which one Wang Lin had come from. Just at this moment, Wang Lin's calm pupil suddenly shrank, but soon returned to normal. Rays of red light whistled through the star fog and got closer and closer. Leo has caught a cold, his nose running like a leaky faucet, making it unlikely he'll make it home tomorrow. Trying hard to ensure a new update, but lacking the energy, longing for the like button for the video. You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Chapter 1154, On the Verge. Noble Money may seem like a very vulgar name, but in the rank region, it represented the word ruthless. As an elder of the Clear Flower sect, he had reached the early stage of Nirvana Shatterer. He had shocking spells, and due to his personality, if you provoked him and lacked a powerful cultivation level or sect, then the only result was death. More than 1,000 years ago, a small sect of the rank region actually killed one of his disciples. He slaughtered his way into the sect and completely destroyed the sect with some of his friends, leaving behind a bloodbath. This battle made him famous, and every sect in the rank region learned of his name. At this moment, his expression was gloomy as he sat on the head of a python with dragon-shaped head. As the spirit beast moved through the rank region, disciples of the Clear Flower sect followed him. I didn't think that clue would be true. Every time Noble Money thought of his matter, his heart beat faster. Several months ago, his Clear Flower sect accidentally found some clue related to the legendary Nirvana Void Pill and a jade that showed one how to become a core disciple of the Heaven-breaking sect. As a native cultivator of the Cloud Sea, Noble Money obviously knew of the Heaven-shaking event that occurred 18,000 years ago in the Cloud Sea. 18,000 years ago in the Cloud Sea, the Heaven-breaking sect was a rank 8 sect ready to move into the mighty rank region. 2 months before the move, they accidentally found a spatial crack, and it was filled with restrictions and danger. The Heaven-breaking sect gathered large amounts of cultivators together to enter the crack, including elders that were at Heaven-S blight. They broke their way through and had countless casualties. In the end, they found a corpse in the depths of the spatial crack. There were 3 things next to the corpse: a pill, a broken sword, and a piece of beast bone. After obtaining the 3 items, the elders of the Heaven-breaking sect went crazy and quickly left the spatial crack to return to the Heaven-breaking sect. This was because their discovery was too incredible and could shock the entire Cloud Sea Star system. It was possible for the Heaven-breaking sect take over supremacy from the rank 9 God sect. However, they had a traitor in their midst, and the news got leaked out. What awaited them was the entire rank region moving against them. Countless old monsters that rarely appeared all participated in this battle that made their eyes red. However, the heaven-breaking sect, which had the right to enter the rank region, had the power to battle the entire rank region. A bloodbath was created in the rank region. The rank region was affected, and they also sent out cultivators, and the rank region was also dragged in. Even the rank region was affected, and a catastrophe that swept across the cloud sea began. This matter was extremely fierce. Even after 18,000 years, noble money would tremble when thinking about this. In the end, this caused the rank region that almost never interfered to finally step in. This matter was a bit disadvantageous for the heaven-breaking sect, and at this moment, the heaven-breaking sect split. A large amount of people in the heaven-breaking sect were willing to fight for these three items. They traded the pill and broken sword for their survival. They also maintained their original trajectory of moving to the rank region. A small part of the heaven-breaking sect took the beast bone fragment and began a life-and-death battle with those that tried to steal them before disappearing into the long river of history. As for the beast bone with the pill recipe, it disappeared, and no one knew where it went. Some believed it was taken by the cultivators of the rank region, and others believed that it was hidden among one of the rank 8 sects that fought against the heaven-breaking sect. In the end, this matter ended, and where the beast bone went remained a mystery. That was until 18,000 years later, when the Clear Flower sect found a clue. Whether this clue was true or false, it shocked the entire Clear Flower sect. They immediately locked down the information and even killed some of the disciples that knew of this matter. This matter was simply too shocking. If they were a bit careless, it would lead to the destruction of their sect. After all, the bloody lesson the heaven-breaking sect learned was enough to warn people. Compared to the heaven-breaking sect of the past, the Clear Flower sect was like an ant. They had no qualification to hold this beast bone fragment. Although they were greedy, they weren't intending on keeping it for themselves. They were hoping to find the beast bone fragment and then gift it to a powerful rank 8 sect in exchange for a large amount of benefits and long-term protection. They also hoped to use this to get help from the rank 8 sect to become the overlord of the rank region. However, all of this would depend on whether this clue was true. If they only gave the clue to the rank 8 sect and it turned out to be false, then the Clear Flower sect couldn't afford the anger of the rank 8 sect. This was why they didn't dare to hand over a clue and went to check it themselves. However, if they wanted to check it, they would have to prevent any rumors from spreading so the other rank 6 sects wouldn't notice that something was wrong. Also, this clue led to a sect in the rank region, so if a large amount of Clear Flower sect disciples moved, they would raise the suspicion of the other sects. This was the one thing the Clear Flower sect was worried about. In the end, they chose the dependable head disciple, Shi Luoxing, to take 19 disciples and secretly head to the rank region. Shi Luoxing's cultivation level wasn't the highest in the rank region, so him taking some disciples and leaving wouldn't cause too much attention. This was proven true when no unnecessary trouble occurred even after he reached the rank region. However, Shi Luoxing didn't think that clue was true. He easily obtained the beast bone fragment and got a jade. However, just as he was on his way back to the Clear Flower sect, he was pursued by the 5 Poison sect. The other sects of the rank region also learned of this matter. Shi Luoxing, you must hold on. Noble Money's origin energy was injected into the spirit beast below him. The spirit beast moved even faster as it pierced through layers of fog toward the wild continent. He was only leading the first batch of aid. Behind him, almost the entire Clear Flower sect had moved out. While they were rushing through the star fog, Noble Money's gaze narrowed as he saw a cultivator within the range of his divine sense. This cultivator was riding on a 1,000 feet black ape. Along the way here, this white-haired cultivator wasn't the first cultivator he had seen. However, this place wasn't far from the wild continent, so Noble Money couldn't help but pay attention. While he moved forward, his gaze was still locked onto the white-haired cultivator. Not only him, but the 10 or so Clear Flower sect disciples were all looking at the white-haired cultivator. These gazes seemed solid, and Wang Lin's face turned pale and revealed a shocking stare as he looked dumbfoundedly at the more than 10 rays of light. He stopped in the air as if he had forgotten how to fly. He knew that his cultivation was a bit strange, and outsiders couldn't see through it right away, so it might cause some unnecessary suspicion. Thus he kept his origin energy always active at the mid-stage of Nirvana Scryer. Noble Money withdrew his gaze. He was impatient to go to the wild continent. At first glance he found nothing abnormal about this white-haired cultivator who was obviously shocked by their sudden appearance. According to the star map he had, there were several wild continents nearby. Looking at the white-haired cultivator's path, this person had obviously come from another wild continent. He longer paid any attention to Wang Lin. He then ordered his spirit beast to pass right by Wang Lin. The other disciples also withdrew their gazes as they passed by Wang Lin. Wang Lin was secretly relieved. He couldn't see through what sect they were from, but they were obviously cultivators from the rank region. They were heading toward the wild continent. However, just at this moment, a ray of light broke through from the distance at an unimaginable speed. This light was bright, and Wang Lin clearly saw a jade inside. This was obviously someone sending a message to jade. These spells were used within sects to transfer messages using jade that moved far faster than cultivators. They didn't have to worry about it being intercepted, because unless one knew the right seal, the jade would collapse immediately. In order to prevent any accidents, more than one jade was sent out at a time. This jade moved too fast and passed by Wang Lin in the blink of an eye. It landed in the hand of Noble Money, who hadn't gone far. Noble Money's expression changed, then his left hand formed a seal, and he used a unique hand seal to check the jade. Once his divine sense entered the jade, his body trembled. This was a jade sent by the cultivators in the second wave. There was only one piece of information inside, and it stated that Shi Luoxing's life tablet had shattered. Shi Luoxing had died. Noble Money's expression became extremely gloomy, and he mercilessly squeezed the jade. Then his gaze suddenly fell on Wang Lin. He didn't suspect Wang Lin, but now Shi Luoxing was dead, and they didn't know who killed him. Whether it was the 5 Poison sect or any of the other rank 6 sects, they were all targets of suspicion. This matter was of great importance, and Noble Money would rather kill 1,000 innocent people than let one get away. Take him to the wild continent. Noble Money pointed at Wang Lin, and 8 of the disciples flew toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression changed. He stood up with respect, but also just the right amount of panic. Fellow cultivators, what is the meaning of this? Don't make us act. Fellow cultivator, quickly, follow us. Among the 8 disciples, 6 of them were at the corporeal yang stage, and 2 of them were at early stage of Nirvana Scryer. If they met Wang Lin under normal circumstances, they wouldn't dare to do this. After all, Wang Lin had higher cultivation level than them. However, with Elder Noble Money here and this being a great matter for their sect, they all became hostile. Leo has a cold, with a sore throat and a bit of dizziness, not daring to promise if there will be a third watch today, doing his utmost to get through. Chapter Untitled. The formation shined, and one person walked out. Teng Huayuan was about to teleport out when he suddenly stopped. Fury erupted in his heart, because that person wasn't Wang Lin at all, but an early-stage Foundation establishment disciple from Wufang Valley. Teng Huayuan's face was extremely gloomy. With his right hand, he crushed a dozen or so souls before he calmed down. The moment the disciple appeared, he quickly ran to Teng Huayuan and the black-robed old man. He knelt to the ground. His voice was filled with fear as he said, "Dead, they are all dead. Even senior apprentice brother Wang Peng is dead. I was far away, so I was able to escape." The black-robed old man looked at the disciple. He suddenly hit the disciple on the head with his palm and said, "If they are dead, you shouldn't be the only one alive." With that, the disciple's head shattered like a watermelon. A gentle wind blew and the smell of blood spread. All of the small families and sects became silent as they looked at the old man's direction. No one dared to talk about Wufeng Valley anymore. Suddenly, the surroundings became silent as the formation started to shine again. This time, a very large number of people walked out. They walked out one after another, and Teng Huayuan realized that they were disciples of the Xuan Dao sect, but he still carefully looked at them. Suddenly, Teng Huayuan's expression changed. His face was filled with killing intent. His body suddenly moved and disappeared. He reappeared next to a Xuan Dao sect disciple and said, "You finally came out." With that, his hand reached toward the head of a youth that had just walked out. The youth's eyes flashed cold. The moment Teng Huayuan's hand reached out, the youth disappeared and reappeared in the air as several people exclaimed, "It's him. It is him who killed senior apprentice brother." He stole our token. Ancestor, it was him. I also saw him kill everyone from Wufang Valley. All of the disciples that had come out of the valley became very excited and started to shout. Inside the valley, they were all afraid of Wang Lin and had suffered for more than 3 months because of him. But now that their elders were all here, they became brave. Teng Huiyuan didn't think that Wang Lin could teleport and was startled. That's why Wang Lin got away. His face was gloomy as he shouted, "Wang Lin, I want to see where you can run to." Just at that moment, a scream came from the He Huan sect. All of the tokens that were inside the valley are in his hands. He has at least 5 tokens. The moment those words came out, all of the cultivators that were present started talking as they looked at the youth. Even Lin Yi became interested as he looked at the youth. He revealed a surprised expression as he chuckled and silently shook his head. Teng Huiyuan shouted, "Fellow cultivators, this person killed my great-great-grandson, so we have a personal grudge. Today, I'll kill him and I won't take any of the items on his body. But if anyone dares to obstruct me, then don't blame me for making you my enemy." Lin Yi suddenly laughed. "Okay, none of the cultivators of Zhao will dare to get in the way. I want to see if you, Teng Huiyuan, dare to kill him." The moment Lin Yi's words came out, everyone was stupefied. Although it was not convenient to talk about it, everyone had their own guesses on the meaning of those words. Teng Huiyuan didn't dare to be arrogant before Lin Yi, but he couldn't help but frown as he was unable to understand the meaning of Lin Yi's words. Punan Zia's eyes lit up as he looked at the youth in the air with a strange expression. The more he looked at the youth, the more familiar the youth seemed, but after thinking about it for a long time, he couldn't think of who it was and became very confused. He thought that no matter how he looked at this youth, he was only at the foundation establishment stage, so why wouldn't Teng